the examples that they would use of people as soon as they left, and then trying to make it seem like it's scare tactics.
They're like, if you leave, this is what your life's going to be like. And I believed it. I was like, and that's one of the main reasons I didn't leave for so many years, was because I was convinced.
Yeah.
They tell you your whole life you are planted in this church, and God put you here for a reason. And if you leave, you're going outside of the will of God. And so I firmly believed, I was like, if I leave this church, I can't be a Christian anymore. There's no possible way, because I would be going outside of God's will. And there's no way I could be a Christian and be going outside of God's will. This doesn't align, because to be a Christian is to seek after, try to be Christ-like and seek after God and, those things. And so like, I believed that for many, many years.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Brothers and Bible Nerds podcast. My name is Daniel, and here with me is my brother, Chris. No Cortland today.
No Cortland,
but he is with us in spirit.
That's right.
There's a missing spot. Well, there's not, because there's not really any room. So.
Sorry, Cortland.
Sorry,
no missing spot. But we miss you.
We miss you.
There's a missing spot in our hearts.
Yes. And our whole mission statement is to be nerdy about the Bible, and to be nerdy is just to love something and be obsessed with it. And with the Bible, I think that's the best thing to be nerdy and obsessed with.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's great. So today we have a couple of very special guests here. We have sisters, Amanda and Miriam, and this is our friend Joe's wife. So, and you guys know who he is.
Yes.
Shameless plug, Joseph Luares Music again. Yes, whenever I get the chance.
Not
shameless. Check him out.
It's not shameless.
Check him out. So
best voice you'll ever hear.
Yes. Yep.
It's true. She's not biased.
No, no, absolutely not. No bias going on whatsoever. But I'm so excited to have you guys on, and we've been talking a little bit behind the scenes and just hearing y'all's story. Basically, and we had Desi on to talk about the same thing. You guys were in GO. You guys actually, when did you guys get out of gospel outreach?
2023 from February.
Yeah.
Officially.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think you were 24 in February, because I think I was September 23.
Oh, I think you're right. 24.
Yeah.
24.
He gets a little.
A little difference there, but
Yeah.
not a whole lot of time in between.
No, it hasn't been that long at all. And for those of you that don't know, when we had Desi on talking about this, we were talking about cults and how he had left this church, gospel outreach, which he qualifies as a Christian discipleship cult. They are believers, but there are some things that are off, some controlling tactics, and some probably unhelpful tactics, especially emotionally, stuff that kind of breaks down things that shouldn't be broken down in terms of relationship with each other. And so if you want to check that out, feel free. It was a great episode. We really learned a lot, and our parents were briefly in gospel outreach as well. We know a lot of people.
Yeah.
But you guys, it's fresh. It's recent, and even since Desi had been there, which has been over 20 years, it has grown, I would say, even more closed off than it was. Yeah. And so it's very insulated. And so you guys have a unique perspective also growing up in this church and going through all of the things. I mean, that was your life. Your whole life was that church.
For sure.
And so definitely want to hear your guys' testimony, but also you guys got out with your faith completely intact. You guys went straight to a church. And I mean, it's been what, a year and a half. You guys got married. You guys both got married around the same time.
2 months wasn't the plan, but it just happened.
And like, if I may say so myself, like two of my best friends, they're a couple of the greatest guys, godly guys. So you guys picked well. And
I definitely got the greatest guy.
Yeah.
I did.
So it's just, I find it so fascinating because you hear just the horror story after horror story of people leaving controlling environments, especially ones that are Christian, controlling environments. And they end up either leaving their faith or just struggling with things, not going to church, just psychologically not connecting with Christianity because it's a sore spot.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's an emphasis that we all agreed would be great to talk about, especially towards the end. Some more practical application, be an encouragement for people leaving those situations to seek, like, hold fast to the truth, and then you can start letting those extra things go.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're just going to be free floating and just kind of crashing and burning. So, with that being said, I just want to get straight into y'all's testimony, like starting, I guess, from the beginning or wherever you guys want to start.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I think us growing up in the church was definitely, I enjoyed it. I don't think I had a bad memory necessarily, like growing up and like going to the school. I know that's not the case for everyone.
Yes, for sure. It's not the case for everybody.
Right.
But for us
personally.
Right.
It was a very,
it was
just a fun environment to be in because, you go to school, you're with your friends, and then you just, afterwards you're playing with them. You're just with these people all the time. And it's the greatest thing because you're a kid and, you get to just play with your friends. A lot of music growing up was a huge part of our lives. Definitely encouraged to like go learn the piano, go, play the flute, like just different things, but definitely not as much. When we were kids, it wasn't like a requirement. Like you gotta go learn your violin.
Yeah,
but,
get lessons and do this. It was kind of like I just remember when I was around 11, like I hadn't picked up any instrument at that point. Like we were in choir from when we were really, really little. But as far as like instrument goes, like when I was 11, I was just kind of like, I feel like guitar would be really fun to play. And my dad's like, yeah, I'll get you a guitar. And if you really actually like enjoy it, then maybe we can like think about upgrading like the guitar. So I had like a little kid guitar. Like it was tiny.
It was really cute.
And I just started doing lessons with my grandpa every week, just like on Tuesdays. He'd come over, we'd play a song. And then I remember one day I like played a song in one of our like school recitals. Like it was something really small, and one of the members of the church, he plays banjo, and him and his wife like love playing bluegrass, so they kind of like roped me into that, and I really enjoyed it. But like nobody ever like came up to me and told me like you need to play guitar.
Which if anyone has seen Gospel Outreach, they've heard of the choir. They've seen, now it's like all the kids are in orchestra and playing instruments, and it is amazing. Like you watch these kids, like we went to the performance and I was like, man, they're really good at what they're doing.
Really
Definitely not my childhood.
Like it surprised me, and I know them,
right. And so there was just that clarification. Like now music is definitely a very pushed thing, and like you're learning instruments and you don't get a choice. You're just doing it.
It's just part of it.
But our growing up definitely was very enjoyable, I would say. And then around, when you turn 15, 16 is
for
when
us, I think the age is younger now, but when for us, I think is probably 15, 16.
You started, you're just required to do a little more, like you're part of the worship team. And so you're like, okay, for me, like I played flute and piano, and they're like, okay, why don't you? And I asked because I wanted to do something more, because you're in the church and you're like, I just want to do something and like be a part of something. And so I started playing in worship, and for some reason in my brain, I thought that would be easier to play an instrument than to learn words and sing, but I was wrong. Playing an instrument is so much harder for anyone who knows. But it definitely something that I started getting into, and I enjoyed it. I liked the like playing on Sunday, and it was fun. It was definitely an enjoyment. And then I would say when COVID happened was when our life started taking a turn a little bit more
drastically
on,
I'd
like
say.
Where the pressure started amping up a little bit, and like just more was required of us, and like, well, why aren't you talking to this person? And like, you know, you should be doing this, and like, why aren't you doing that? Why do you spend so much time at home? You should be at the church, which I was like, okay, sounds good. What are we doing? And I don't know if there's something else you want to add about.
Yeah, I feel like if at any point there's like something you don't understand, because there's definitely a language that we grew up speaking. So like if you're like, if you want to stop us and be like, wait, explain what that means, just like totally interrupt us.
Oh yeah,
that helps. Yeah, it's interesting hearing you guys talk about that. I just one question before you get into how you were affected when you were getting older. I'm curious, the foundation as a kid, where it's really fun, you're hanging out with all the other kids, you're able to do stuff in the church. Do you think there's kind of a lack of, now, you're all image bearers of Christ, and that's the focus. We all are, right? But a lack of emphasis on individualism. Like, do you think there's a sense of like, you're all kind of doing what everybody else is doing, little variations here and there, but like, who's going to get into punk rock? Right?
Oh, no.
You know,
nobody.
it's like, who's
kind of fun.
You know,
no,
like,
not.
like your dad, Miriam.
Well, he did like Petra, and so.
Petra's close.
I was shooting from the hip with that one. But I was just curious your thoughts on that. Like,
For sure. I think like as like a young kid, you're doing it because all your friends are doing it, and it's really fun. And so like the individuality wasn't really like thought of. Like I didn't really think like, man, I like really want to do this instead, because you're just having fun. But as you grow older, there's definitely like categories that you had like kind of the choice to pick from of what you can get into. There is like we've mentioned, there's like a studio, like where you would create songs, and then there's like a video side of things. You can get into like sound and mixing. You can really, really press into the orchestra. Like we were all part of all of these things to a little degree, but then there was the people who were like, okay, like, yeah, I play cello in the orchestra, but so-and-so is like the cellist. Like they're the ones who like everybody is like looking to and like being led by, or in sound, like, you can dabble in sound a little bit, like set up mics for the sound person, but like so-and-so, they are the head sound person. And so there's just these different categories that you could like kind of choose to like, to like really dig into.
Well, and they would call those platforms. These are our platforms that we're going to build on. But going back to your question about when we were growing up, I just think back to our childhood, and there was a lot of catechism and like, you know, scripture memorization and like a lot of that. And we were, you know, being told the same thing, and like definitely like what you're hearing at the church is what you're hearing at home. So there's definitely that pouring into you of like the same thing over and over, and like this is what we believe and this is why we believe it. So I think there was
a lot of
memorizing and leaning heavily on Martin Luther and his catechism. Then
you could pick a commandment or a petition, and I could probably still recite it to you word by word from Luther's Small Catechism.
Ooh, wow.
Which there's like something about that being like, oh, cool.
Yeah,
it's good. It's like good stuff, but definitely you know, I go back to thinking about, you know, the creed or whatever, you know, I have in my brain, because there's a lot of things that I memorize, and I'm like, wait a second, what does the Bible say? Because, you know, you have Luther's Small Catechism, which is great, but I mean, we were always told like that goes under the Bible. The Bible's, you know, the Word of God, like that's what we
Luther's
believe.
Small Catechism,
and this is underneath.
Platter that serves.
And you know, there's certain things that now, as I look through the catechism, that I'm like, I mean, I don't know about infant baptism and like things like that, where, you know, you just have a little bit of a question mark. But it is true. You're like, you grow up in a world that is all the same, which you're all going for the same thing. You're all, you know, we're going to have a performance at the Arkley Center, which was so cool as a child, just going I'm like, this is amazing. Like we just get to dress up and like go in front of people
Sparkly
and sing.
red shoes.
Like that's so fun. And like, I definitely think there's a little more outreaching when we were kids, like
When
just
we were
a little
younger,
bit
for
more
sure.
of like, we're going to go out and do carols with people, caroling,
Yeah.
And it sounds like, they're getting, more into that recently, from what I've heard. But so we definitely had that growing up where it was very structured and very like, this is what we believe, this is what we're going to do. And like the school's part of it, the home's part of it, the church is part of it. So, and then like Amanda was saying, as you get older, you get to like, start to see like, okay, what platform do I want to
really
build on?
To. Yeah.
And you can do something for a while. And then if you're like, well, maybe I should try being on the soundboard, or people would suggest that, like, Miriam, I think you would be really good in the studio. Why don't you, start doing that? And you're like, sounds good. Let's write a song. Like, absolutely. And so you just start doing the thing. And then once someone knows that you're good at something, guess what you're doing a lot of?
Yeah.
Like,
Your time is full of that.
You can
arrange music, Miriam?
Guess what? You're gonna, you get to arrange the song now.
Yeah.
Which
you get
at the time I was like, at first I was
produce our whole play.
Oh, wow.
It's in the moment, like when I'm thinking back to those times where I was like, I was so excited for that because I'm like, yeah, like people are counting on me. Like, this is great. Like, and you don't define it as like, oh, this is my gift. Like, because that's frowned upon because it's nothing that you're
Gifts
doing.
are bad.
It's all the Lord. It's all Jesus.
Oh, really? I would have thought it would have been the opposite.
It used to be.
Wow.
Like when Desi was going to the church, like they were like actually assigning people gifts. Like you have you're a prophet, like you have the gift of prophecy, and you're this. And then,
which I think they just saw the effects of that, and they're like, "Whoa, wait, hold up!"
I think basically what happened is,
no.
I think some people back in the day would hear that and make it their whole identity, and really push it and be like, "This is my gift, and I'm not doing anything else because this is my gift." And I think they went the exact opposite, and it's like, no one's special. Nobody has a special gift.
You are replaceable. Like, okay, you think you're good at that.
You think you're good at guitar.
Someone else
so and so can play guitar too. Or like,
They say that?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh yeah.
And like you think it too. You're just
my
like,
fragile ego. What do you?
I think that's the point. Is like no ego, like nothing like that. And we are all doing the same thing. Like going back to that is one thing that. It's all the same thing. Church is the same, school's the same, in your house is the same. And if in your house isn't the same as what's going on in church, you have a bad family and you need to leave your family and get connected to a new family.
And
we can get into that more.
Yeah, I'd like to get back to that.
But
at some point.
Just to like say a point that I was just thinking about, one thing we grew up hearing my whole life is we're the remnant.
Right.
There's other churches out there, but they're lukewarm, they're wishy-washy, and it's like, if you want to go to one of those and be like a lukewarm Christian, go ahead, but God's just going to spew you out, and so they're like,
or you're not going to be as blessed as you are here. You're not going to
you're not going to have as much fruit, which fruit is money and children and nice cars and a good job and a nice home. Like that's what they define as fruit. And so they're like, yeah, you go to another church, but you're not going to have any good fruit.
Wow.
And how's your experience been with that, by the way?
And so quick. No, seriously, I grew up thinking that. I'm like, oh my goodness, like we're the remnant. We're the only people, like there might be like some other church in like Switzerland that is also like us.
Because you do see those videos every once in a while where you're like, wow, this church is like doing what we're doing. Like that's amazing.
It's kind of funny because there was this one like documentary that the pastor was like, hey, I saw this documentary and they are exactly like us. And I remember watching it and being like, oh, that's a cult. And we're
discernment.
We're exactly like them. Okay.
So with
we gotta be a little bit different, right? Because we're not a cult.
Platforming thing you're talking about, I definitely want to highlight that for a second because it's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said about how amazing to be not pressured but influenced to pursue talents.
Yeah, they're
and
all
help
great
the church.
things.
Absolutely.
I think that's really great. The one thing, and this is circling back to what you said at the beginning, that makes you guys really special is that you guys are still in the faith.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one reason people are not is because they don't have any outside influence, as I perceive.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be curious to know your thoughts on that. And I think that goes beyond just people spewing random ideas, but like what you're saying, where you're conditioned to read maybe my ideas as being a lukewarm Christian.
Yeah.
Because I go to another church.
Yeah.
So you're conditioned to read people a certain way. So you're not even going to listen to the world.
No.
Right? And I think it's good for us too at times. So then we can cultivate actual fruit.
Or even
Right.
like other churches,
Learn.
like not even just like the world in general, but like other churches we would not like interact with or talk to or anything. And it's like, I think like you were saying, like even as a Christian, I think your ideas on like scripture or like things that you have like grown in the Lord that you would like possibly present to somebody from Geo, they would just be like kind of like maybe squinty eyed or being like,
or
well, that
smile at you
doesn't-
and be like, oh, that's,
Yeah, that's
nice,
so great,
and then
but,
have
like,
to go
they're
talk
gonna-
about it later
they're-
or something like that.
they're not gonna like really give too much thought to it because we're the remnant and we have like we are serving the Lord in the way he wants to be served, and we are in the word and we are together on this, and we're of one heart because, you know, being of one heart, one mind, one accord, like that's in scripture. Like you want to be of one heart, one mind. And they're like, and that's what we're doing. So they're not doing that. And so how could we possibly interact with this other church if they're not doing exactly what we're doing? Because then we wouldn't be in
Right.
one heart and one mind.
Were you scared to be open?
Huh?
Like, were you scared to be open with them about
You
ideas
know,
you had or anything?
So when I was
just didn't have ideas, I don't think.
well, as you know, I would read the Bible, and sometimes the Bible is very confusing, and like you're reading it and you just don't understand things, and so I would be very open. You know, at first it was, you know, with my dad, and then that kind of got frowned upon because my dad wasn't
He wasn't
playing the game. He wasn't like doing what they wanted him to do, and so he got kind of, you know, down
the ladder.
There's a hierarchy.
For sure.
And
They
so-
like to say there isn't, but there is.
Yeah, Desi was saying that too.
Yeah.
It's like they say there's no hierarchy, and he's like, there
But
absolutely
what
is a hierarchy.
but I think they are saying about when they're saying, "Oh, there's no hierarchy, there's no difference between me and you." I think they take as on a sin level, like my sin isn't any greater than your sin, or your sin isn't any greater than mine. In the eyes of the Lord, we're on the same level. There's no inner circle. There's no level. But in like
there's clearly
like the how would you put it, like instead of like God's view on you, but like in the realm of people,
this is
there
how it
is
is
very
here.
much
Yeah.
a hierarchy, and it's like these are people you should talk to, these are people you shouldn't, these are the young people who are doing really good, these are the young people who are struggling. You know,
Right,
you
and-
just know.
Kind of going back to what you were talking about, just starting from 2020 is what it sounded like. What was that transition into? Like, you guys have things that you can do. You organized an entire orchestra, which they still use, by the way, right?
Yeah,
Which is
it
pretty
was
cool.
pretty cool
Yeah,
to
an
see.
orchestral piece.
You know, on the Christmas performance, because we went, and I was like, oh, that's my arrangement for that song,
Yeah.
which was cool to see, because I'm like, oh, I'm glad it's still being used, because, you know, it was work. It was
Right.
But yeah, definitely when 2020 happened, I mean, even before that, there was definitely more pressure on us young people, especially like if you're college age. So like, I would even say like 16 would be college age in their mind.
Yeah,
Because you're
people graduate at 16. in
yeah,
this
True.
I
world,
mean,
so
we didn't, because my dad's like, you're gonna be working for the rest of your life, so stay in school as long as you can. Which, thank you, Dad.
Right.
Yeah, seriously.
And so, you know, we're starting to get more into these platforms. You're like starting to find like, okay, I'm really good at arranging, or I can pick out a part from a song and like make it into music for people. Just different things that people are starting to get their gifts or get their platform. And then 2020 happened, and, you know, the world shut down, COVID, you know, shut everybody off.
Yeah.
Shelter in
But-
place, all that jazz.
Then Zoom happened, and we got a lot more connected with the Olympia Church. And so I think a lot of the change or the major movement,
the focus,
it just changed to, it was not so much like, okay, we're going to be, a group of people working together, one heart, one mind. Like if someone's struggling, we're going to come and like lift you up, kind of like, and just encourage you. It turned more into like,
if you're struggling, you have hidden sin and you're ostracized until you can figure that out.
Right. And then it turned more into like, wait, what's Olympia doing? Because, they got really good fruit up there because,
good fruit.
They're 10 years ahead of this geo because they already had their orchestra already. And like, they have a really successful business. They're going for it. And like the children have a place to go to work when they're older, which is a big thing. Like, because you are looking at the next generation and thinking like, okay,
you want to provide for your kids,
right? You want a place for them to go, and I think that's completely a good thing to be thinking about and like thinking ahead. But definitely the focus turned more into like, oh, what's Olympia doing? Let's do what they're doing. How are they talking? Let's talk how they're talking, and like let's do what they're doing. And they have a group of 10 men behind the pastor. We should do the same thing.
Wow.
And so it turned,
not a literal 10 men, but that's just the title
they specifically did do something of that sort.
Oh, yeah. There would be a literal half circle of men
like
in Olympia.
You're looking at like
and
the
they were
stage with the pulpit. There's the pulpit and the pastor, and then there's a mic next to the pastor, and there's the 10 men, which I think in Olympia is, I think it's more than just 10.
Right. It looked like it was more. Yeah.
But there's just like a select few group of guys who are, the
core group.
The core group, the people who are like most
calling the shots
with the pastor. They're the ones that are in charge of the different platforms.
Right.
They're the ones who are, not in the inner circle because they don't have that. But, and so the pastor will be preaching, and then if one of the 10 men want to build on what the pastor's saying, they just get up and walk to the mic, and they'll stand there. They'll like wait until the pastor gives them kind of the nod of like, go ahead, say what you want to say. And then they'll like say something, and then they'll go sit back down. And so like that's kind of how sermons started to be. And for us here, it was our pastor, and then we had
the worship leader,
another pastor, and he would walk up and he would like, say stuff on the mic. And we didn't have like a half circle on our stage. They'd just be in the pews, but they would just run up to the mic if they wanted to say something.
Yeah.
Well, it seemed like it was more planned too, because they would meet in the mornings, and in my understanding of like what I was watching is Pastor Dave would be like, Jamie, you have something on that, right? And so then he would, like, oh yeah, okay, Walter Brueggemann says this, and like, we'll build off of what he's saying. So there's like, he has the sermon, but he also has these men who are not in charge of the platforms, but they are in charge of the platforms, because you have like the orchestra leader, the video leader, the worship leader. These are all people who are very much involved with the youth, which is, the main focus, because those are the next generation, the people who are going to be taking the gospel to the world using these platforms
someday.
And so those were the people, them and their wives were the like approved people you can go talk to. Like if I said in the worship meeting, like, cause we would meet before, it would be like, oh, I was talking to so-and-so. And if I, named the correct name, then it's like, you can't diss what I'm about to say, because it's like, from the approved
so
person.
What she's saying is good, because she's quoting this person who is the wife of so-and-so, who's like in her 10 men. And it's like, if you were to say like, for us specifically, not everybody was like this, but for us to say like, hey, yeah, my dad was saying this, they'd be like, oh,
right, not part of this group of people.
Next. Like they'd even say that. They like, you'd be like wanting to say your thing, and like if it was something that wasn't like the right thing to say, or a thing that they thought would build on the conversation or what we were talking about, they just like, nope, next, and they'd call on somebody else. And you're like,
which didn't really help them, because a lot of what we were told is like, just say what you're thinking, just say what you want to say. Like, you know, don't hide. And I know for me, I knew like what I could say that would get the amens and like get the like, you know, it's not an easy game to play, but you can play their game and like be like, okay, I know exactly what I can say to like get people off my back, and you know, they'll think I'm talking to so and so, but like that was 2 weeks ago, which they started picking up on that, where they would be like, when was the last time you talked to this person? Like, that's old manna. Like, where's the new manna?
Old news. Like it's gotta be daily,
right? Juicy gossip.
Yeah, and so definitely, they would say like, say what you want, but don't say what you want, because if you disagree, then we're gonna have this talk, and like you're not gonna be allowed in the worship team anymore.
You're gonna be
like,
sent home or sent to so and so's house to actually talk to them, because clearly you didn't talk to them.
Right.
Well, and this is talking about which I am so glad you guys clarified that if we had any questions because of a language barrier. I mean, I kind of get it. I understand it, but I am starting to like, and especially people watching.
Yeah.
There's definitely a clear language barrier.
Yeah.
Like you have certain things like talking about old manna. You have this thing where you bring stuff up.
The story about manna in the Bible and know like where that's coming from. And same with the 10 men that came from, you know, David's mighty men.
He had friends
mighty
around
men,
him,
you know, people that he could count on. And so that's kind of where that came from, of like, who are your friends? Like, you know, if you know this friend, then you can know all his friends too. And I was definitely told that too. Like, look, if you just talk to me, then you're talking to all these people. And like, and so I just remember being like, well, that's not true, because I'm just talking to you. I'm not necessarily talking to these people. But in their mind, it's like, we're all saying the same thing. Yeah. We're all on board. And you could be a friend to your sisters and like get them involved in this. And like, you know, there's definitely more of, I think, I don't know, manipulation to like, even like get people to do things too. Where there is definitely, at least between, you know, Amanda and I and, you know, my sister Michaela, where they would encourage us, like, you should be talking to your sisters and like know what they're thinking and feeling and like all these things. But then when, you know, I would go and talk to someone about, you know, something that was, you know, bigger than, I didn't learn my part in worship and I got kicked out, because, you know, that's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. But the older you get, you kind of realize like it's not that big of a deal. And that would bother them too, like where they're like, why doesn't this bother you? You should be bothered by this. And I'm like, it's not life and death. Like, it's gonna be okay. Where there's definitely things that I wanted to talk to my sisters about. I just knew I couldn't, because I'm like,
because you're taught to rat people out, and so
I don't want them knowing that I'm struggling. Like, no way.
Because like I
want to be in.
I like growing up in this environment. I knew that if Miriam came to me with something that was like personal that she was struggling with, I was not enough for her. Right. She needed to talk to somebody who was in the word, who was talking to the right people. Yeah, you know, basically
interesting.
One of the 10 men are their wives, you know, because what could I possibly say? And like, it's wild, because like we grew up in this church where we're like memorizing like
the
scriptures and we're memorizing like a little catechism, but it's like, but if your like sister comes to you and like tells you about a struggle, it's like, I have nothing for you. I don't know. Go talk to so and so. Like, you should really talk to them. Like, don't talk to me about this. Right. And it's like, because of that, like, when our family was like leaving, like, none of us talked to one another about.
I had no idea Amanda wanted to leave too. Like, the thing that she said in the worship meeting, I was like, she's never leaving. Like, she's stuck here. Like, and my last worship meeting there, it was definitely very frowned upon if you didn't talk in the worship meeting, because that means you're not giving, you're sucking from the meeting, like you're just, you know, why are you in here? Kind of
hidden sin or something that you don't want to be.
And so that last one, I just remember thinking like, I literally do not care. Like, I'm so done with, you know, this whole situation and like the things, and like I was called out, but they didn't say like, oh, Miriam's not talking, but you know, it's definitely like, and there's certain people who are just sitting and sucking from the meeting, and I'm like,
that's me.
Okay.
Right.
Wow,
And
you were done.
I was so done.
That's so funny.
And everyone could tell. Like they all knew
done,
like something is going up with Miriam. And then Amanda said something about like, oh, you don't have to be. I don't even remember. You said something where I was like, oh, she's like really into this, and I'm like,
yeah.
It was really hard because I was like, I went home, and I didn't really talk to anyone. But the next day was definitely like, Miriam, did you talk to someone? And I was like, no, I didn't talk because it doesn't do anything. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. And then you're going to say, I know what you're going to say. And so, which they don't like hearing that either because they're like, you don't know what I'm thinking. You don't know what I'm going to say.
Right.
Yeah,
and to a certain extent, that's true.
You're not just going to say all the canned phrases we've been hearing our entire life. Okay.
Right. And so I definitely remember that day just being like, no, I'm not going to go talk to the pastor because I've talked to the pastor about this and nothing changed. And like, I wasn't like necessarily like, oh, I'm out, I'm leaving, because that just brings up a whole nother conversation of the fear of doing that. And so that day I just, I went to work, I was working, I was getting the job done. But definitely at lunchtime, my boss was like, you need to talk. And like, if you don't want to, like, you can talk to my wife. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to, like, I'm working, like, I'm just focusing on that. And so then he told me like, okay, you have the day off, like, figure out what you want to do. Like, you basically go home. And so.
And real quick, for clarification's sake, business you were working for was one of the church businesses.
Yes.
Right.
All the businesses you work
involved,
for
like,
is part of the church.
Which was a great blessing too, where I'm like, I got to start working when I was 16. Like, there's definitely
who you're working. I
pros for that, where I'm like, I got to make money.
I loved my job. Let me just like say that clearly right now. The people I worked for, the kind of job I was working for, I love them. They were basically second parents to me. I still see them in that way. And it was like pretty hurtful when they, let me go. Because initially they said,
wait, let me get to that.
It's going to be fine. And then the next day they're like, you got to go. And so, it was. Yeah.
That day I reached out to the only person that I knew, like, I'm like, okay, my cousin. I know she's left the church. She's gone through what I'm, thinking about doing, because I was still like, I don't know if I want to commit, because it's like you're leaving everything you ever know. And so I texted her and I went over and I talked to her. And that's kind of where like the big light bulb of like, wait a second, you're not saying all the things I expected you to say. Like, yes, come out of Geo. Like, finally someone's coming to me. Like, but she was very like, Miriam, think about, like, I'm not going to try to convince you to leave Geo. Like, if that's where you want to be where you want to be. Like, but, and I'm telling her all the things that, I had seen and thinking of. And she's like, I get it. Like, I understand what you're going through. And it was just one of those moments of like realizing like, man, if I actually got to talk to the people who've left, like they aren't these hard-hearted, cold people. Like, they're definitely like, man. And so I eventually went home and, I was talking to my dad and I was like, Dad, I want to leave. And, kind of expecting the response of like, okay, get out. Like, Yeah,
because we've seen that with like some of the people we grew up with who had left. Their parents are like, okay, like get out. And if like they like paid for your car, then they keep your car. Right. And if they, it's just like, take as much as you can now, leave and come back like next couple of days and pick up the rest of your stuff. Like,
but my dad being a cop and sheriff was like, you are not just moving out. Like, we are going to find, like, if you want to move on, like, that's completely fine. Like, we're going to find you a nice place. Like, absolutely not. Is my daughter going to just go out? Like,
awesome.
Not going to happen.
Your parents are so good. They're so cool.
And even that, I was like, what is going on? Because my dad's not doing the thing.
He's supposed to kick me out.
He's supposed to, like, be yelling at me.
I never want
to see your face again,
Yeah. And so I remember being so nervous and scared about seeing my sisters, because I don't know where they're at. Because like we said, like, I'm not talking to them. I don't know that they're struggling too. And so Amanda, we're all sitting in the living room. And
we had another girl staying at her house who wasn't part of our family because her house, their whole house is being remodeled, and so she's just staying with us.
She had been with us
because they needed to be out of the house. Yeah, and she'd been living
and
with
poor
us
thing was just like,
so like
listening.
So like to preface this conversation, because like if she wasn't in the room, I probably wouldn't have said the things that I said.
And so we're all in the living room. Okay, it was Michaela, Amanda, my mom, my dad, and the person who was staying with us.
The girl.
I got you.
And my mom was telling my dad, like, should we go get, the pastor? And my dad's like, why would I get the person who's like driving my daughter away? Like,
right.
No. And so, and in my mind, I'm looking at my dad. I'm like, is he thinking the same thing as me? Because he never disagreed with what I was saying.
Yeah,
right.
he was just kind of like,
and I was like, what is going on? I don't know what's going on. And so Amanda says something like, well, you're going to be losing a lot of relationships. And like the look on her face, I was like,
which is true.
Like, okay.
And I just wanted to like clear that up to begin with, because little did she know I had been like thinking about leaving, and basically like had set my mind to leaving 4 months prior to her actually.
Which
like,
I had no idea.
She didn't know.
Which is crazy.
Nobody knew, because what's the funny thing is once all of the stuff that you have been struggling with your whole life, like the approval of the people who are in charge, and like the doing the right thing, the giving enough time to the church, and once that doesn't like matter to your salvation, like I was just like, none of this matters. Like it really doesn't matter if so-and-so thinks I'm the worst person in the world. That's okay, because I know what Jesus thinks about me. I know what God thinks about me. Wow. And so I had made that decision where I was like, I'm going to leave. I don't know when and how, because I knew I didn't want to leave alone, because that was scary. And so I was kind of just biding my time until somebody, I didn't care who it was. I would have gone. I would have left with Billy Bob if he wanted to leave, but I was just biding my time, and it happened to be my sister, which is great, because I was like, oh, great. But like, I had been thinking about it for months, and I was like, I know what I'm going to get myself into. Yeah. But I'm decided. And those 4 months were the best 4 months in a like long time. And Geo, like we have all these great memories, and there's like all these great things that we experienced at Geo, but like those 4 months were great in the way that like I could play the game with like almost a side smile, like with like a little tongue in cheek, because I was just playing them, I would do the like, I'm
and
so
people
sorry.
Noticed, like I'm someone like, told
and
Amanda
like, and I would talk to the right people, and I just get everything out that I, was thinking, because like, what you're not supposed to think and what you should just say.
But you
like,
were
hey,
intentionally
like,
saying
I
stuff
was
that would
totally intentionally like playing it up for the 4 months, and like
without the mental and emotional exhaustion.
Without the mental and emotional exhaustion, because I was like, it doesn't matter anymore. Like I don't. There's no like value to this to me anymore. Like before, it meant the world if I was like, said something good. Somebody said something good about me in the sermon or in the worship meeting, and I was like, I've done it, I've made it. But it's like now it's like, say something good, say something bad, it didn't matter. But I'm gonna play the game so you say something good just because it's gonna be fun. And I literally had one of the 10 men come up to me. At one point, he was like the head of one of the places that I was like really digging into, and it was like me, him, and this other girl who were there, and he was like, Amanda, does it scare you how easily like you can pretend? Like basically he was like, does it scare you how good you are at acting? And I was just like, at the time, because I was still playing the game, I was like, yes. It's like I really am so like I really shouldn't be like pretending so good, but like in the moment still pretending.
What a statement. Put that on a t-shirt.
And it's just like, none of this matters to me anymore. I'm not. It didn't matter that you're disappointed in me, Wow. It just
Which by the
weight
way,
of it just left my shoulders.
Is that's not something that a lot of people get.
No.
I mean we all, like, we weren't involved in anything like that, but like, at least for me, that pressure is exhausting.
It is.
That pressure of wanting to please people, and that just hearing that is just like, man, that must have felt so freeing. Yeah.
And if you ever said anything along the lines of like, oh man, I am just swamped, like I'm feeling the pressure, I feel like I can't get this done, or it was your fault because your team wasn't big enough, or like, so they're basically
got
like,
more help.
You should never feel overwhelmed, you should never feel pressured, you should be able to get these things done. Because you can get a big enough team to do it. Like if you need to get that part scored out, like teach someone else how to do it. Like there was never like the excuses of like, oh, maybe you just need to go take a nap for a minute, like frowned upon, like, no, you're not bad. You're not, because it's just a waste of time,
You're wasting time.
I was like, I agree with that. No, I'm just kidding.
Time and a place, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, right. Time and a place.
But like, so there was definitely that side of things, like where you're being told like, if you're feeling that, it's your fault, like fix it kind of thing. And so then, there's me who's trying to like conquer the world, it felt like. And, my dad would, see me very stressed out, like on doing Sibelius, which is a thing to behold.
I'll tell you.
And so I'm trying to get this done, and I'm like, no, I can't do anything. Her way. I'm doing this thing. Because I was known for getting things done. Like if you wanted something done, give it to Miriam. She's gonna actually fall through, because I'm like, I am not gonna be the flake. I'm going to get things done, and it took a toll. And my dad would, casually come in and be like, Miriam, do you know you can say no to people?
And I'm like, can't actually.
I can't say no to so and so. Like, are you crazy? Like, and so there's definitely times where my dad would be like,
somebody asked me to do this means I'm worth something.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna say yes.
There was times where my dad would step in and be like, no, you're not doing that. You're, going to go talk to that person and tell them like, no, you need to go find someone else to play that piano part.
Naughty, Dad.
You're playing 30 songs, like no more for you. And hearing that from my, dad, I'm like, oh, thank the Lord. Like, okay, I can breathe a little bit. And because it definitely, one of my downfallings is being not a people pleaser. Well, it's a people pleaser. Being like, I want to.
You're taught to be a people pleaser in jail. It's just like,
I want to do what you want me to do, and
pleaser.
like, if I can do it, I'm gonna do it. And so there is definitely that pressure, but I definitely know where you're coming from, because I know the lead up to me leaving too. I just realized like things that were such a big deal to me, like playing on the worship team, or like
talking in the meeting.
Like, I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, it really does not matter if I'm part of the worship team. I can worship the Lord from the pew. Like, it does not matter. Like, my standing before the Lord doesn't change. Before the people here, like, people are going to be like, Miriam, why weren't you, playing worship? Or like, why weren't you up on the stage? Like, what did you flake out in? Like, and so that used to be like the end of the world. And I just remember, and sometimes like in the worship meeting, like if you didn't get your chance to put your plug in, like, the pastor would be like, okay, whoever didn't talk, you can go home.
Yeah.
And I just remembered being one of those people and like realizing like, oh, I can go eat breakfast. I can go like talk to my parents. Like I can like do all these things. And like there's, a couple other people who are already crying, going down to, one of the 10 men's house, like, oh, I was out on the worship team. And like if you go and talk to someone and come back and like talk to the worship leader, like you can get back in. Like there's a way to get in. Like you just had the moment of like, oh, okay, I realized I was taken away from the meeting and I need to be talking to people more, so I actually have something to give. And like I just remember that meeting where I was just like, I like this. Okay, sounds good. And of course my parents were like, Miriam, what are you doing here on a Sunday morning? And I'm like, I got kicked out. And they're like, okay.
Wow. Oh yeah. Wow, so Miriam and we left at like different times. She's like, well, she like left and then she went back, but in the time that she had like gone back to Geo, it was probably like 3-4ish months, two.
Well, I was gone for like 10 days at first, and then I came back because I couldn't stand not being with people.
Everybody
and your job, which we discovered like that hadn't really happened to people. Not that I've noticed. Like usually, if someone left, they would eventually leave the business because you're working
it's kind of awkward.
You're like,
yeah,
okay.
it's awkward.
But where I was at, I'm like,
I would have been fine.
I can keep working for you. Like if I start, partying or something, like something crazy,
I can
where I'm like,
handle
you can kick me out. Like if my work level comes down, like totally fine. But it was definitely like, no, goodbye, get out of here, kind of thing, or very encouraged, like you don't want to be here anymore. I'm like, okay. Anyways, so in that time, I just remember being like, I can't lose everybody. I'm going back, and it was about
and then
3 to 4 months.
And then during that time when she was back in, she was like meeting me for coffee like every week, and like that's something like if you don't you like if you see them out in like Safeway, if you come across somebody who's left in Safeway, say hi, be nice, tell them that we're doing a performance next Saturday or something, invite them. But you don't go out to coffee with them.
Even your sister.
Even
family
your
is a bad word.
Family's even worse, actually.
Like because you have a family spirit, you know each other too well. You can get away with things.
Yeah, who knows what kind of deceitful, evil things that I would tell Miriam over coffee, I would
all those evil things you found out.
She'd come over to Ramon's, and instead of talking about, oh, how's your day, I'd be like, you're gonna leave Jill, right, Miriam? Right. I see that. You're like, it's so much better out here. You should leave. You lose all your relationships, but it's so much better. and the thing about that too is when we were in GO, like I had friends, cousins who left, and they actually said this in one of those famous worship meetings where they would use people who left as an example. And when people leave, typically they're kicked out. Sometimes they lose their car. They have to find like
a new job.
They have to find a friend to stay with, and then they're struggling. Like they have no support anymore.
They're
like
starting
maybe
over.
A few people in the outside world that they know that they can like connect with, but like very limited group of people, and so they're struggling. And then the people in GL, one of like the 10 men, would be like, "Oh yeah, you can either have this where you'll get married, you'll have kids, you'll have a house, you'll have money, or you can be like so and so and be working, living paycheck to paycheck."
Right.
Or like they took one of my friends' stories. Like I remember they're like, "Oh yeah, you think that so and so's doing really good? Yeah, well, her grandma pays for everything, and she's just living in this cupcake world where once her grandma stops paying for things, she's gonna have to wake up and be a waitress and live paycheck to paycheck." They would just say that, and
you believe them because you're like, well, they must know.
Because it's fruit, right?
Well,
that's what they
you
fruit.
just think they know.
You believe them. You think
you're like, okay, well, you're strong enough to like actually like look into their life and call
talking
them.
About.
Gotcha.
You're like, little do you know, they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. Because after I left, I reconnected with this said friend, and she was like, yeah, my grandma paid for 1 semester of college. After that, I paid for the rest. I moved to a different state by myself, and I like rent out my own apartment. I bought a brand new car with my own money,
goodness.
And come to learn, she's working with like kids in the foster system. Like out of all the things they were saying,
so evil.
Every single thing was wrong.
Still a Christian, like she's one of those
awesome.
people.
And like when Miriam was still a part of GO and I had left, they were saying things about me. Like I was in love with this guy at the dump. And to preface
I had heard that, I think.
To preface this, I had a landscape, like gardening job. So like,
it was very funny.
You're going to the dump constantly dumping green waste. Chris knows this. He's also part of that like business. You're going to the dump. You're just dumping green waste. You mowed a bunch of lawns or you trimmed the bush, So I guess there was like some rumor that went out that I was going to the dump a lot because I had a crush on a guy there.
But there was
not
that one
because
time
of my job
that you were stuck there for a while because your tailgate wouldn't open, and so one of the guys came over and helped her.
Yeah. And I gave them my phone number, you guys.
Oh, not true.
And guess what? I married him, and his name is Joe Luaris. I literally dreamt of about this moment being like, I just want to like we joked about it when we went to the Christmas performance, being like, "Hey Joe, like we should go and I should like introduce you." Like, yeah, like we're sure being like, I met my wife at the dump, or like he's like, should I like roll in a trash can as we walk in? And I was like, yes, just wear a vest and roll a trash can in.
but it's so funny because Joe, who is Desi's son, went to GO for a long time, like and like Joe grew up in GO to a certain extent.
He was like 4 when they left, so he's like a little toddler.
Little toddler.
Memories.
But they were also like, wasn't Desi used as like a prime example of what not to do?
Well, there's certain like it seemed like every 10 years something big would happen in GO. Like the Lueris family left, and I was like, okay, big deal. And then 10 years later, another family left. And usually at those times where like a big family, like and something big actually happened,
10 years later, our family left. So there might be something to that.
I see. Okay.
Well, the
2035, we're looking at you.
Come on.
Wait, 34.
Yeah, 2034.
Well, and I think that's kind of the thing. The examples that they would use of people as soon as they left, and then trying to make it
scare
seem
you.
like it's scare tactics.
They're like, if you leave, this is what your life's gonna be like. And I believed it. I was like, and that's one of the main reasons I didn't leave for so many years, was because I was convinced.
Yeah.
They tell you your whole life you are planted in this church. And God put you here for a reason. And if you leave, you're going outside of the will of God. And so I firmly believed, I was like, if I leave this church, I can't be a Christian anymore. There's no possible way, because I would be going outside of God's will. And there's no way I could be a Christian and be going outside of God's will. This doesn't align, because to be a Christian is to seek after, try to be Christ-like and seek after God and, those things. And so like, I believed that for many, many years. And then one of my friends, the cupcake girl, she left, and she actually also kept her faith and started going to a church and started connecting herself with Christians. And, she moved to a different state and started like connecting with Christians there and stuff. And
went to college, which is a huge deal.
Yeah, I went to college, all this stuff. But like, I just remember like seeing this, because fun fact, you're not allowed to have any social media, but like people get on social, sneak onto social media. I didn't. There's people on social media.
We see you on social media.
Yeah, we see you, and we're messaging you, and we know you see our messages. So
you know who you are.
You know who you are. Oh no.
Yeah, you know who you are. I'm not gonna name names because that'd just be mean. Yeah. But we see
know
you.
who you're talking about.
You're welcome to say hi.
I see you too.
So and so.
And
anyway,
it's okay. We love you.
The mango. We'll know what that means.
Yep.
We'll know what that
means.
That's right. Anyway, listen to the mango. The person I'm thinking of knows exactly what that means. Anyway, so I would like sneak onto Instagram, and I would see my friend who like left the church, and I was like, wait, she's in a Kirk Franklin video. She's part of Maverick. She's part of Maverick City choir. Like she's part
of Maverick City music.
Well,
That's
she
awesome.
was for like a tour. She toured with them.
Friend of ours.
Cool.
Growing up, she was my classmate, and she definitely had the most spunk when we were like, singing in choirs and stuff.
She's
like
got spunk.
She was just like singing at the top of her lungs and like would be
got
moving
those,
and grooving. She
dance
didn't have to
moves,
be told like, hey, you need to smile when you sing. Hey, you need to move. She's just like all into it. She's just like, so
That's
this
awesome.
doesn't surprise me at all.
I would like sneak onto Instagram and I'd see this and I'd be like, can I be a Christian if I leave?
Right.
And so that seed started, that seed was planted, and that wasn't even like their worst nightmare, I feel like, in GO is somebody from the outside reaching in and trying to like draw people away. That's the worst nightmare. And so that's why there's no social media. That's why you don't really talk to the people who have left. Like I said, if you run into them at a grocery store, no big deal. Say hi to them. But like, you're not going out to coffee with them, because that's like the worst thing possible is for somebody who's left to draw away the people. Little did they know, this friend of mine did absolutely nothing to like draw me out. She never messaged me. She never like tried to reach out for any reason. I just happened to look on Instagram myself and see her life and be like, that's something I want more.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
and can I just say, just listening to you guys talk about this, absolute congratulations, because the amount of confidence that takes.
Right.
And you talking earlier about just scheming for 4 months. That just like tickled my brain, because I'm so that way too.
Same, literally, I got like a burst of adrenaline.
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
I mean, it was like
I love that.
I was both scared and also like the most lighthearted I'd ever been because I was scared to leave by myself.
yeah,
like I was
absolutely.
terrified of that thought. But also I was like, if I have to wait like a year before like somebody else leaves and so I can leave with them, because I can do this. This is just
you know what's happening.
You're
like, I know this bubble. I know.
Yeah, like you grew up, you know the rules, and for the majority of my life, the rules like meant something. Like they were like high value. Like if I didn't follow the rules, it was devastating. And then I got to a point where I was like, I'm just gonna follow the rules just cause, and it's gonna be fun because I'm gonna like kind of just see my way around this. Yeah, it's really a game, and it was.
And you saw it for what it was.
Yeah, I saw it for what it was, and I was just like, this is kind of fun. Don't get me wrong. There's people in there that I was 100% real with. Didn't like play any games with them. One of them being the people I worked for. Cool. Yeah, never. I wasn't like playing a game with them. I was 100% honest with them. They could probably see. Honestly, probably could see right through it. And if they didn't, then I am genuinely sorry for that because I didn't want to lie to certain people there. But other people, it was kind of really fun to like play that game with.
And I was like, this is fun. I think part of our growing up too with having our parents not inside like the businesses there definitely played a role in our lives too, where my dad would definitely instill the confidence in the Lord. Like I definitely remember things of like telling him like, I think people think this of me, like when I was younger, and like just kind of putting my faith or like my identity in what people thought of me. And he's like, Miriam, people are going to be telling you things your whole life. Like you are a naive little girl, or like whatever it was that I was complaining about. And I just remember being like, Dad, you're like, what? And he's like, the only thing that matters is what the Lord thinks of you. And what does he think of you? And, he's listed off all these things.
Would,
like you're a daughter of God, you're
chosen.
To us
and be like, this is what God thinks
loved
of you.
by him. You're loved by me. Like basically being like, it does not matter what people think. And I think that played a huge role. And same with my mom. Like they're very, if you talk to my parents, very Bible centered, like just
they very
good,
much are.
Godly people. Very loving and very open to talking. Just all these things.
So awesome.
And I think that played a role in how we interacted with things in Geo, like things that would be a huge deal for someone
mentally, like emotionally destroy them. Like they did
not affect us because we're like, look, we have tough skins and soft heart. Like life, it gets tough. Okay. Like it's part of growing up, Yeah. And just having that mindset of like, just the way our parents raised us, I think helped with our whole family leaving the situation because we weren't completely isolated from the world. Like my dad had his work buddies and we got to see like a little glimpse. Like they did.
We actually were like kind of friends with some of like the children that my dad like he was a cop, and so like they would have like barbecues and his like cop friends would bring their like friends over and we would like actually run around and play with them, like.
And so there's definitely that side of which I think a lot of the people like who are fully inside Geo with the businesses and the church and life and school, like they saw that and they didn't like that because they're like other influences, like that's bad. Like your dad has a different view of things than we do, which is true. My dad, which we didn't get to see, like he was, going to the men's meeting, which is, I mean, a completely different podcast.
You heard about that from Desi.
Yeah. The shark frenzy.
Yes.
And so my dad's
like Desi's episode.
He would go to those and like he definitely was bringing up things to the pastor. Like, he says what he's thinking in a way of like, you guys, how are we reaching the world? It kind of sounds like you want the church to shrink and you want people to leave by the way you're talking, and like, is that what you want? And of course, they kind of just like a little squirmy around, like, of course not. We don't want people to leave, but if you want to go. But
we'll pay you to leave.
But don't go.
Your dad is very
and so my dad's just like,
yeah.
Okay, do you want us to leave or not? Like, what is going on? Do you want people to come to this church? Because in the last however many years there hasn't been a single new member. And I remember thinking growing up too, like listening through a sermon or like even our worship, there's a song it's literally says, "You are dead, you are dead, you are dead, and your life is hidden with Christ in God."
Oh.
And I remember
know that
thinking,
song,
like,
yeah.
if
Yeah.
someone
We've made
just
fun of that song before.
came into the
Oh, I
church
certainly
right now
have.
And they heard us
and
singing
heard
that.
us singing
You
that,
are
and we're all like
dead.
happy, like, yay, and like then
Yoo-hoo.
listen to the sermon afterwards, which would make no sense to someone just coming in and like,
It does
Um,
not.
Yeah, Chris has firsthand
and
with that.
I just remember thinking, like, who would understand this? Like, this isn't for the world, and it doesn't really make sense unless you like
No.
grew up in it.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely that too, where my
But
dad
they-
was bringing up those arguments to the men, not
But they don't
arguments.
care. They're like, they're almost like it's meant for people not to understand. Like if a person comes
Right,
in,
right.
it's kind of meant for them not to understand because
Yeah.
Not to
we're
stay.
the remnant. And if you're not part of the remnant, you're not going to understand what we're saying. And
Right.
that's okay.
That makes a lot of sense, and that's
Because you got that.
cult. Yeah, absolutely.
You got that.
Cultish. It's a cultish practice. If you look at other cults,
Mhm.
not necessarily calling it a cult, but there's cultish practices like we were talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
It's in a cul-de-sac. Come on, you know.
It is.
joke about
But
that, too.
I digress. One method that I see pretty often is they want people to come in so that they can get them to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that shows this authority of that's the world.
Right.
You're with us.
Yeah.
And it creates this binding. And I also wanted to
Yeah.
point out for those who might be like, Amanda's a dirty liar because she's lying to them for 4 months.
Yeah.
Here, I'm
I
curious
am.
about this. Maybe I have
I
this
was going to
wrong.
make the same
Maybe
point
I have this
think you're
wrong.
making, yeah.
But is it true that you guys were not exactly doing what was honest to begin with? What I mean
Yeah.
by that is you're conditioned to confess things the way they want you to confess
Right.
things, or
Mhm.
say things the way they want you to, or do things the way they want you to.
Yeah.
That is not truth.
That's true.
That
Yeah.
in and of itself is dishonest, because if you're not able to say things that they don't like without
Right.
them doing something about it, that conditions things. And so you just understood that it wasn't true, and I
Right.
think we're
Yeah,
playing to the
and
game that
there's-
they
It's
made.
true.
Definitely
For
times
sure.
that I can think of where my cousins who, have left in those worship meetings would say exactly what they're thinking and bring up really good points of like, and I would, secretly be agreeing with them, but also be like, wait, how can I counter attack this?
Right.
Because this
Wow.
isn't part of the like,
It's not part of the script.
And so,
Oh,
you have those
dude.
moments of seeing like, oh, this person actually is like saying what they're thinking and like bringing
And it
up
gets
like,
awkward.
what about
real
this?
fast.
And like even pointing out things in the Bible of like, the Bible says this. Why are we doing this?
Right.
And it just gets really squished like really fast by, the leaders and the
Yeah.
pastor. And like, and then everyone else is like, okay, let's build off of what they just said because we got to agree with them. And so then that person, my cousin, is just crying and feeling horrible. Like, I'm struggling with this. You guys are not answering like my
Yeah.
question. And
Yeah.
even me listening,
and
I'm
you-
like,
and you're like,
yeah, that wasn't like, okay.
you're felt to believe that you're sowing discord among the brethren. If you like
Right,
say
or
anything,
Jezebel spirit.
yeah,
or
Jezebel
whatever.
spirit, all that
Not
stuff
that
where
again.
it's like,
Not that again.
and it's interesting because like, so I keep like bumming that.
I know it's kind of obnoxious.
Everybody in the
way.
podcast is like, she's got to stop. It keeps doinging in the like
Italian in
the
her,
mic.
okay?
Yeah, no, but
You can use this hand,
I know. It's just this is my right hand.
This is I
is my
got
left
you.
hand.
I got
Yeah.
you.
But you actually attended like service
Yeah.
at,
Along with Joel and
yeah, along
Andrew.
with like some other
Yeah.
people, and just the like if you think that like, oh, it's just they say these things just to the people who like are in the church, they were like calling Chris out in the middle
They
of the
call-
sermon.
They called me out pretty hard.
Yeah.
And I'm just
Yeah.
like, I was kind of shocked when I heard about that. I was like, really? I'm like, they're
Well,
really getting to that level where they're
think-
like, not even like before I think there was a little bit of like hiding it. And now they're just like,
Full blast.
they're just like calling
Yeah.
out.
Which I also think they saw
Visitors.
3 young men coming into the church and they're like, "What's going on? What?
Really-
Why?
really
Like,
interesting
what is
thing-
this? What's happening?"
I get why I was called out. It was because now Andrew and Joel were sitting like basically across the church from me.
Sure.
And with the worship, I wasn't exactly doing the raising hands and stuff because I've just never done that.
Yeah.
Which my dad
and
was
also
like that.
I could not give two craps of what people think most times.
Right.
So I'm just like,
neither.
I'm just gonna worship
Chris
as
is
I
very
worship.
ornery. I mean,
Kind
I
of
am too,
always
but
been
it's so
that
funny.
way.
It's so
And
funny.
so that's why I
Yeah,
just
so
love
they're
what
like,
you're saying.
sheep in
'Cause I'm
wolf's
like,
clothing, get him out.
love that. But no, I was still worshiping.
Yeah.
Oh, but here was the problem. I was taking notes.
Yeah,
Who takes notes, apparently?
Bro, I can't not take
You know,
notes. What do
You
you
know
mean?
what the thing is?
I'm like, I take
It went
notes
from
all-
like you should be taking notes to
They
actually no
literally-
notes.
Yeah, they literally
like,
like when we were younger,
what?
it was like if you were in the sermon, you should be taking notes
Yeah.
and to like
So that you
remember
remember.
What
and
happened?
then like I
And
don't know.
then
when
if
it
you're taking
switched,
notes,
but there was
no.
like just a switch where they were like
Absolutely not.
Taking notes is like no, you should just basically like
Remember.
talk about what actually hit you. If you're reading your note, it didn't actually hit you.
Or like
You
if you're
know, or,
taking
like-
notes, you're gonna miss
on.
the next thing that I'm saying, and because you're like finishing the
It
quote
helps.
out or
It
whatever.
helps me like remember and
Yeah.
internalize. It seemed to me the best way I could put it, like I was listening to 3 sermons at once.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I still have those notes, which glad I took notes. If I've reread them and I'm going, what was I writing down? Because it
Yeah.
seemed like this topic, and then there would be random moments of like that one guy pulling out the iPad, and then he would like start talking about like, oh, this one person's out of town, and they were talking about blah blah blah. You know, it was
Sure.
confusing to me,
Sure.
obviously, because I'm not used
Yeah.
to it. But yeah, I think that's when Dave was like, this guy's got a dark cloud over his head.
You were a sheep in wolf's clothing.
Yeah,
You had
yeah,
to
yeah.
leave. Like you
I-
were no good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I-
As note taker.
I'm a note taker.
No,
Well-
no,
Whoa.
no. And I think people still take
Like a
notes.
cuss
Like
word.
Yeah, you have to
I know there is definitely some people who are like, hey, too bad I am taking notes. And like, you
Yeah.
know,
Right.
you can take notes, but it was definitely one of those moments where like, cause I was a note taker, like
Yeah.
even the last
I tried.
Sunday I was there, I was taking notes. Like, I think I wrote down pretty much everything he said. I knew I was leaving. I don't know why I was taking like so detailed notes, but I was like, I don't know. So definitely there is a no, but also I don't know. You could still do it. It's weird. There's
It
like
was
things
weird,
where you
but
like
yeah.
know that these are the rules, but like you can still kind of fit it if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
it's like
Yeah.
okay.
I want to address the culture for a second. And by the way,
You go for
I'm
it.
so glad that you brought up basically the culture of lying. The way you
Yeah.
prefaced it and the way you were saying, it almost felt like word for word what I was gonna say. That's how you know we're brothers.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
completely connected. But I was just
Yeah.
like, yes, thank
Yeah.
you. That's perfect.
'cause
That's
me.
exactly what I was gonna say. I'm like, wait, are you
That's
guys
funny.
basically lying anyway? Because I was thinking
Yeah.
about somebody else thinking,
Right.
wait, why is Amanda lying? Like,
Right,
why is
It's
she
not very
doing that?
Christian like.
But you're already doing that,
Right.
kind of.
Yeah.
I was being kind of more truthful in
Yeah.
the lie, like, you know, in
Right.
the time where it like didn't matter
Right.
to me anymore, because that was more truthful than me like
Right.
pretending like it mattered, you know?
Yeah.
I definitely remember times where, you know, I definitely say what's on my mind, and I don't really at certain times, like when things are really bothering me. I remember talking to, you know, Pastor Dave about certain things,
Yeah.
and Pastor Jason about things too, and like just being completely blunt and not like, especially when I was still in the church and my family was gone, there were certain scriptures that I was like, is my family going to hell? Like, is that what you're
Right.
saying? Like,
Uh-huh.
what do you mean? And of course it's like, well, no, of course, like if the Lord moved them, he moved them, like, you know,
But we
So
don't
there's
believe
all
he did.
those things where like I would be completely totally honest and blunt with them. You know, it seemed like after I had left and then come back, and like it was almost like you kind of have to prove yourself, like, are you actually back, kind of thing, which
Right.
I'm like, I was gone for 10 days, like, okay. It was
whole
definitely very
days.
hard to get back into the swing of things,
Oh,
and
man.
for people to trust you again, because of course you're like, you broke their trust, like you actually took the step, and like,
Yeah.
look, now your whole family's gone because of you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was also like, I definitely had a lot of people telling me, like, you need to choose the family or the church. Like, you
Yeah, I've
can't
heard
have
that.
both. And I'm like, I love my family. Like, that's
Yeah.
not happening kind of attitude. And just,
Nice.
so there was a big struggle for me. And I think I got to the point where Amanda was at, where I'm like, this literally does not matter. And
Doesn't
at
matter.
a certain point, I was not staying because, like, I really wanted to be there, but I almost wanted to like try to defend my family of like, they're still Christians, you guys. Like, why are you bashing on them like in a way, but in a very like roundabout way. I mean, some people were very blunt. They're like, yeah, well, your sister's just living in a pigsty over there. And I'm like, okay, that's not true.
Oink, oink.
Yeah.
You're at the dump. Just
camping
out.
Or that story.
You just live there now with the guy from the dump.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know.
A cardboard box.
And so there's just certain things that they were telling me about my family of like, well, now, you know, it's a completely independent house. Like, you know, Amanda can go do whatever she wants. And like, your dad's not going to do anything about it. You know, and just different things like where a certain person was asking me, you know, I was back and trying to figure out like, what am I going to do? Because I still lived with my parents, but I was like, I don't think I should be living with them. Like, they're going to be pulling me away. And she brought up the dump guy. She's like, well, like, didn't Amanda like, isn't she like dating the dump guy? Because she like really liked going to the dump a lot. Because you know, Amanda took so long at the dump, and like whenever you know her boss went, like it was so fast, and so obviously something's going on. And I'm like, well, there was a time when her tailgate was broken,
literally broke off.
And
I couldn't
get it open
the tailgate to dump the
and so
load.
like stories start
like
circulating
stacked
around there, and I'm like, where did you get that? She's dating a dump guy now. Like, what?
Yeah.
And so
true,
that was
guys.
one of those things where I like was like, no, that's not true. Like, this is the actual story. This is actually what happened. Like, yeah, a guy, because you know she's obviously very, very pretty, was like, can I get your number? And of course she's like, I have leaves in my hair, and I'm like, it's sweaty, and she's like, no.
Yeah. So like any girl living in this world is going to be asked for their number at some point.
for sure.
That doesn't make it a sin on my part.
And so
right.
there was, you know, that whole thing going around, and I was like, whoa, I don't know. That's not true. And like, just different things about my family. Like, well, isn't your dad doing this now because now he's like out from our control? I'm like, he was never in your control. Okay. Like,
did they say that specifically?
Well,
or
it was definitely like,
implied?
you know, your dad never played the game. He never like shot his ball.
So you're admitting it's a game.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and so at this point, you know,
good
I am
point.
struggling very much with these people because I'm like, I want to be here, but I also don't want to be here because you're telling me things about my family that are not true. Because I was still like every once in a while, because I did eventually move out because my dad, you know, said something to me because him being, you know, the amazing man he is, used one of the things that why I left in the first place of like actually wanting to go out and, you know, preach the gospel and like actually reach people.
Imagine
And he's like, he said something along the lines of like, okay, what about the homeless man on the side of the road? Or like just random things. And I'm like, Dad, I can't argue with you. And I like, you know, I went out the door because I'm like, I can't, you're right. Like I'm completely ignoring, you know, the rest of the world to like be in this bubble. And, you know, and at that point, you know, I went down and, you know, told the pastor, and I was like, my dad said this, and he's like, well, we got to get you out. Like, okay, let's see if you can, you know, move
he wants
into
to preach to homeless people.
Well, I don't even know if it was that, but it was that example of like actually going out and reaching people who are actually hurt and like have struggles over like bigger than.
I got kicked out of the worship meeting.
NGO, that it seems like the small things are made huge, and like actual bigger things like. I can think of a few things that happened in my life that were like actually big things. And like, I didn't know what to do. And I, you know, the first person I talked to was actually the pastor. And my dad was kind of like, hey, you can talk to me. Like, I'm here.
Right.
And because there was a good year probably of me just not respecting my dad at all and being like, you're not even part of the church, basically. Like, why are you even here? Like, basically, and the only reason he stayed was because of us. And so he was like, look, I'm not going to lose my daughters because, you know, I'm going to go to another church or like, and so there's definitely a lot of healing after we left of like, Dad, you are actually a very good dad. Like, thank you for the way you raised us. And, so there was a lot of back and forth struggling there. And my sister Michaela was still in the church at this point. But around Christmas time, I think she left because she is a whole nother story of.
She has her own separate, and it's wild because like we're all sisters and we all grew up in the same household, but like even
stories.
with her, she has a completely different testimony than we do.
Right.
Wow.
And it just shows to the fact of how we weren't really allowed to really talk to each other about it.
You were separated.
And there
almost.
was things that had happened to me that my sisters had no idea. Like, they didn't know. My parents knew. And of course, the pastors knew. And I remember the pastor asking me, like, is there anyone that you feel like you could talk to, like, who could, like, help you through this? And I was like, I named someone that I hadn't really talked to, but he was like, man, that must be the Holy Spirit, because, like, that's a great person to talk to. And I was like, okay, sounds good. And I just remember after a while of, like, me coming back to the pastor and be like, I'm still struggling with this. Like, this is still hurting me. Like, I can't get over this. I can't forgive this person. Like, at one point he was like, you need to move on. Like, this is,
you're dragging it out way too
Which, of course, they're
long.
like, come and talk to me, like, over and over again. Like, I was told growing up, like, it doesn't matter how many times you come and talk to me. Like, I'm going to be here. And I was like, seriously? Like,
wow.
This was kind of a big deal, and I can't just shove it down and, like, move on.
Wow.
Which then I started treating other people like that, because I'm like, just get over it. Like, what you like? What
It
is the
becomes
big
a cycle,
deal? And so then, of course, people are like, "Geez, Miriam, like, have a heart," and I'm like, "Okay."
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
And so
sorry.
then after I had finally decided to leave, like, I was, like Amanda was saying, not playing the game, but kind of like trying to not defend my family, because I knew that was the bad thing to do, or like, I can't do that. At the end of it, I was just trying to figure out a way. I'm like, how do I still have relationships with you and still leave? Like, I asked the pastor Jason that, and I was like, how do I not burn bridges here?
Right.
Like, how can I do this? And he's like, you can't. Like, if you're going to go do that, then you're going to do that, and you can't be doing this. And I was like, okay. The funny thing, though, when I was telling him I wanted to leave a second time, he's like, okay, go ahead, leave. Like, it's not going to be easy. Like, and unless you want to get married. And I was like, what?
Whoa.
Where did that come from? And I'm like,
because that's what they think.
Which they're like,
always,
every young lady wants to get married, right? So it's like,
no, it's
here's
so true.
this carrot if you want to get married. I'm like,
Like,
married to who?
The
Like,
young men
I'm
want
sorry,
to get
no.
married, and the young ladies want to get married, and the whole like marriage process in Geo is
Another
a
story.
whole nother thing.
Oh, yeah.
But basically, it's
Those are your options.
yeah, you
It's
have
like,
you have the options in the church, and it's like if a young man's interested in you, he'll talk to the pastor and your
Which
father,
another-
and then you won't even know probably for a while if a guy's like asking about you.
Yep.
But anyway, all that to say that marriage is a really good thing, and it is, and they preach that too. Like, marriage is such a good thing. And so, like, it's one of the things that I think because it's one of the things they actually do have control over.
Yeah.
They can say whether, like, if
You're
a young
ready to be
man
married or
comes
not.
into the pastor and is like, hey, I'm interested in getting to know so-and-so a little better.
And the more
And
you
he-
did, the more you got noticed. Like,
Well,
I was told, like, if you played piano better, or like really get involved in the school, or do this and that, like, your chances are going to go up.
Yeah.
They didn't say it like that directly, but I heard it that way. I'm like, okay, so the more I get credit here, the more chance
likely
I get to
I'm
get
gonna be
married.
noticed to get married.
So-
And so, like, a young man will go to the
Wow.
pastor, but if the young
That's
man
crazy.
is not, like, in the pastor's eyes, like, worthy, then he can just say upright and say, like, no, you're not ready. And so because they kind of have power over marriage in a sense, that's what they like dangled in front of Miriam, like when she's leaving.
Which
They're
I was
like,
what?
well, you
This has
could leave,
nothing to do. I don't even.
or
I
you could get married.
not
Like,
looking
isn't
to
that
be
what
married.
you want? And then
Sure.
it's funny because like we both left, and it's like they're probably talking about this, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
because they would say that to like me when like I was still in Geo, and like my people who had left would like get in a relationship. And they're like, see, yeah, that's all people want is they leave and then they get in bed with the first person they meet.
Wow.
You know, and that's all they want, you know. And then Miriam and I leave, and like out of coincidence, you know, we actually do meet our husbands and get married within like a year. And so I'm
I was
sure they're
told
saying
that
that,
too.
being
I'm
like, see, they married the first guy that came across their like.
They're gonna come up with anything,
Well,
and I think that's a great thing to bring up, marriage, because if you look at the church, it's a relationship, right? Relationship with the church, the congregants, the teachers. Well, a marriage is a relationship, two becoming one. Okay, let's kind of use that as an example. Okay, if I'm gonna marry somebody, here's what Geo does. if I go against them in any way, are they going to slander me? Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are they going to manipulate me in various ways? Are they going to make me do certain vocations without a broader reach? Are they going to limit what I can do? Are they going to limit who I can talk to? I mean, the list goes on of these like kind of subtle things, but when you see it in a marriage, you go, that's an abusive marriage. That's not right. There's stuff going on. And I obviously, like, with the making sure it's known, like, I don't believe all these people are like ill-willed.
No.
I think it's just a culture that's been built, and it's caused everybody to just be in their bubble.
Right.
And that's where the you know, taboo word comes, cult. Right.
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 Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
Right.
I really want to get into y'all's process of how, like, leaving, the transition between actually leaving and like getting into the churches you're at now and the community. But first, we were talking about a story beforehand that I think encapsulates that culture and that like that. I'll just let you guys take it. Yeah, you know what story I'm talking about.
I'll take it.
Well, just so everyone understands, like, each week for worship, we have a Thursday. Well, I don't think it's on Thursday night anymore, but on Thursday night we would get together and we'd have a circle meeting. And before we even got to like the worship practice, we're just talking for like an hour, sometimes hour and a half. And that's where the whole like you better talk or else you're not in a circle happened.
Yeah.
And sometimes it usually was just, you know, led by the worship leader and the pastor, Jason, the youth pastor, we would call him, would come in and just cover it and like just be there. But every once in a while, Pastor Dave would come in, and I always liked it when he came in because it seemed like it was more
just shake things up, you know,
Bible based over like
fresh air, you know.
Gotcha. You know, it was very nice. But this a certain one, and I'll also preface before Amanda gets into the story.
Yes.
The Olympia Church would put on the music exchange, and it was amazing. Like they would, since everyone's getting into playing their instruments and violins and you know, orchestra. Once a year, they would, you know, get teachers who were the best at it. Like, okay, the best
teachers,
violin teacher, like, you know, and that would include video and studio. Like, it's not just music; it's like the whole
violins,
brass, thing that.
Singing,
and so we would we all were invited. We all came up, and like it was amazing. It was like this whole like you sign up for classes, and like you got to be part of the studio team, and like see the Olympia studio, which was so amazing. And you're like, oh,
great.
If we could have this would be so much better. And so it was a very a fun event to go to, and very encouraging, and you come away from it being like, I'm inspired to do like play better and like be better with, you know, my instrument. And so this had happened like 2 years in a row.
Well, I want to say it started in like 2016 or 2017 when we started kind of doing orchestra. We started going up once a year and meeting with them, and it grew and grew each year. Each year there'd be more teachers.
This is probably like year 3 or 4 of it. So like everyone knows about this, and it's exciting, and like everyone wants to be part of it. Like the parents come, like it's just a full blown like
all
the
churches come together.
It's really fun.
You know, great.
Okay, so take it away, Amanda.
We're at this worship meeting. The music exchange is going to be happening in a few weeks or something, and so you know,
we're all assuming we're going.
Yeah, we're all like, "Oh, this is so great!" Like we're getting it hyped and stuff. And we go into this worship meeting, and you know, a senior pastor comes in. And we're like, "Whoa!" Like,
and he usually comes in bubbly, but he was very serious.
Yeah, he was like serious, but like he comes in, and we're like Miriam said, like I enjoyed whenever he popped in. It was just kind of like, whoa, something new, like different, a mix up to our usual program, you know?
Right.
And so he comes in, and there's the usual worship leader and the junior pastor, and we're all sitting down. We're kind of like, what's happening? Like, something's going to happen. Like, it's something new, something fresh. And they're like, so, you know, music exchange happening. And we heard that not everybody's going to be allowed to go. Only certain people are going to be allowed to go. And they're like, you know, okay. So with that information, basically, I think they kind of made it out to say that, like, the people from Olympia told them, like, hey.
Oh, yeah. I think this was Olympia's idea, not.
It might have been. I'm not entirely positive whose idea this whole thing was. But it happened. So he kind of like started off the meeting with, hey, Olympia like said that, you know, not everybody's going to get to come. It's going to be a special music exchange for only people who are like qualified to come.
Uh-oh.
And so you're like, okay. And you start getting nervous. You're like, okay, well, like, what's going to happen? Are they just going to like be like, you, and are going to go? No, that's not what happens. He splits us up into 3 or 4 groups because
of like 3 to 4 people each.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot. 20 of us, 20 to 25 of us. Yeah.
And this is all like 16 to 24, I think Hannah was at the time.
24, 25.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And so it's just like that age group of people. So college
gotcha.
age.
Yeah, like college age, you know. And so they split us up, and we're in the church building, and all of our groups go into different rooms because we had to be separate. We had to just be in your group. So like I was in a group with me, my sister, and like a few other people. And we had our group
Not
in
me, sister.
different sister. Miriam was in a different group. And we went up and we had like the list of people who could be qualified to go. And they basically were like, you're going to go into a different room. You're going to go around the circle and you're going to like go down the list and basically assess if that person is worthy or qualified to go to the music exchange.
And part of the qualification is like, okay, you might not be the best at playing violin, but if you were able to go up and receive something from Olympia, like, and be able to bring it back
and teach the people here,
like that was part of the qualifying too. Like you didn't necessarily have to be the best, but it definitely helped if you were like
pretty
the
good
lead
at
violinist.
what you did.
It's pretty clear like you're gonna go up.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's part of the qualifying.
And so yeah, we were just like in this group, and like and the worship leader and the 2 pastors stayed away from us. It was just us in this room with our groups of people.
Also, he told us like you are not allowed to argue that everyone can go. You have to go down the list.
You have to say who can go and who can't.
Wow.
You can't just say everybody's going. You have to like pick and choose people. And so we just go down this list and we're basically like ripping each other to shreds, being like I think we kind of gave the analogy beforehand where it's like if your dad came into the room and was like, hey, we're going on a family vacation, but not all of you and your siblings are going to get to go. You're going to have to go in a different room and decide which sibling gets to go on this vacation.
Like who's
That's how it was. So like you can imagine like going into the room and being like, well, my sister, she didn't do very many chores this week, so she's not qualified to go to this vacation. But I did like the dishes 2 days in a row. I qualify. So we were doing that. And one of the rules that they stated, which I forgot to mention before, was they said in your group, once your name is mentioned, you are not allowed to say a thing.
Yeah.
The only people allowed to talk when your name is mentioned is the other people in your group. So you literally just had to stand there and just listen to everybody, just like tear you to shreds and basically put your highs and lows right in front of your face and like be like, yeah, you're okay at this. Like for me, like I was one of the main guitarists at the time. They're like, well, yeah, you're like the main guitarist, so I guess you could go to like receive more about that and bring it back. And like then there's like other people were like, well, you're kind of like, you're not good at your instrument, like you don't even take lessons, and you're not even like a lead singer in the worship team. Like you're I don't think you should go.
Not even the lead singer.
Yeah. You're not you're like in the back row of the worship team. Like
they didn't give you a mic.
You don't have you're not on a mic.
You
shouldn't go. And so we all do this. We all come back to like the meeting room and we're all there, and this big whiteboard comes out with all our names on the whiteboard, and we got
group by group we put up like the votes.
We did a dot for each vote you got, and so there are some people with like lots of dots, some people with like
they got 5.
mid, and then there's one person.
No, there's a couple.
I'm pretty sure it's just Leo. I mean the one person.
Okay, whatever.
I'm remembering there's only one person who got 0 votes, and it was like a huge humiliation for that person.
I imagine.
Right, and they were crying their eyes out because like they're seeing group after group go up and put like dots for votes for names and never see a dot put on their name.
It's horrible.
And
Never.
then after all the
not
dots
one person voted for this person.
are like put up, the whiteboards there, everyone can see like clearly who's going, who's not. Pastor asked like, okay, who in like your individual groups thought like we should argue for everybody to go? And I'm like sitting there like, of course I would have argued that, like, but you literally told us that we couldn't.
We weren't allowed to.
So we're not going to be like, actually, let's not do what the pastor said. And like, you know, and of course there's this one young man who, well, I say man, but he was a boy at the time, was like, he's like, yeah, I wanted to argue for everybody. And of course they're like, well, why didn't you? And he's like, you know,
you said we weren't allowed to.
Anyways, and so there was definitely that moment of, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, of course I would have argued, like, I would not have gone through this. Like, of course everyone can go. Everyone's going to get something, at least going to be enjoying their instrument more.
Also, I remember thinking this and not saying it because I knew it probably, like, wouldn't have been agreed with. But I was almost wanting to argue the point of the person who's the least in something should go. Not the person who's the best.
Right.
Yes, that's the
right?
point. Training.
The
right?
person who's like the worst at something should be the one getting lessons or getting the extra help, not the person who's the best at it. But like, obviously I wasn't going to say that because they wanted only the best to go. And so we had that up and it was like this horror deal. The one person who got no votes is like crying and
of course they're like, what are you thinking right now? And she's like,
well, I got no
it
votes.
hurts.
And
I
like,
got nothing. Like,
and she was kind of basically like, I got no votes and like, and I'm just like a loser and I know it now, basically. Like,
right.
You know, and,
it's heartbreaking.
you know, just crying. And so then I think we kind of talked about it a little bit and kind of gave reasons for like certain people. They'd be like, well, why did so-and-so get all the votes? And we'd be like, well, that's because they are like head of the sound team. Like they're there every Sunday.
That's true.
And
there was some people that they would point out and be like, why'd
they get all the votes and why they get
at one
amount.
hand, I'm like, okay, yes, you're involved in our lives, but also you don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. Like you don't know how much like my younger cousin is working her tail off to like get those parts scored out for me because she's the only other person who could kind of do it. And so like I'm like, that's why I voted for her, because you know she's trustworthy, like, you know, things like that, where there's the head people who are overseeing, but they don't really understand like the work that is involved in a lot of these things, or like they don't play an instrument, they don't know what they're talking about, but they're like, it's easy, you should be able to, you know, play a song in a week or whatever. And I'm like, okay, it's easy, okay. And like you're trying to convince yourself.
Right.
But like what Amanda's saying is like, so basically this girl she's just in the hot seat. And like, of course, anytime someone got singled out or like cried about something, it was always like, you got the money this, you know, meeting. You're like, the one who's the most blessed because you get the most reproof, or like, you know,
reproof
so like,
is, you know, blessing. And so
afterwards, so she's like crying and she's like
crying,
yay!
But she's like happy about it because like she's being told she should be happy about it.
Oh,
you know,
so being told how to feel.
Right. Yeah, and anyway, we go through this whole thing,
and she's like the sweetest.
She is this
lady.
Love her to death. Love her to death. Even now, like, I'll run into her like occasionally, and she's the most smiley, the most like kind person
sweet
ever. Anyway, that whole thing went down, and they're just like, okay, well, you're all going, like, good night. And just like left it at that.
And it was definitely
like
one
they
of
didn't
those.
even make any more of a deal of it. They just wanted us to go through that like emotional, mental, like rip your friend apart, just cuz.
Survival of the strongest.
You painted a picture. I mean,
just cuz,
guys.
To me that encapsulates part of what the whole intention is. It's playing games and playing with people's emotions to get you. It's like
to break down.
It's a misuse of Philippians 2, of being of the same accord and the same mind, but you're breaking people's wills down. And then
the person who's broken the most, they're like,
you got the money.
You are the one who like who is like,
Amanda, you should tell them about the sabotaging on your
oh my gosh
stream. Which is another level of like, they would do things to put you in a bad situation to see if you can figure out like how to
figure it out or just
which is
cause stress.
What?
Really,
I don't know why.
The thing
but
is,
they're like, we want you to be able to I don't really
problem
understand.
solve.
Yeah,
it's like problem solve, but
like,
also they want to provoke you to talk. So like any way they falsely accuse all the time. Like they'll like come up to you and just be like, "You did that," and you're just like, "I did," and they're like, "Yeah," and you're like,
"Why are you defensive?" I'm like,
"Why are you defending yourself? Like you shouldn't be defending." So they would do things to like provoke you, and just they would say to see where you're at. If you're clean, you wouldn't defend yourself.
Yeah.
Oh no!
If you're clean and you're, forgiven and right with the Lord, like you wouldn't have to defend yourself.
Gaslighting.
You would be like, "You're right. I'm the
gaslighting.
loser." Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they'd be like, "You're absolutely right. I am the dirt of the earth."
Or almost like when that happened to me, where it's like, "Is there anything going on?" And you're like, "No, nothing's going on." And they're like, "What's going on?
What's your backdoor plan?"
And so
you
you're
have
just
a
like,
backdoor plan. You have plan B,
okay, I gotta because something has to be
you-
wrong with me. Like,
they assume you're leaving
if it's
if you
good, then I'm not, taking on enough weight. So like, there would be times where I'm like, I think it would be a safe bet if I threw out my dad. Like, my dad isn't talking, and they're like, yeah, exactly. How do you think about? Like, what do you feel about that? I'm like,
they found they're actively, and Desi brought this up too. They're trying to get at they will take alternate, maybe some unsavory methods to get at any potential sin issue to root it out.
Right.
So
anyways,
one of their methods was I had been dealing with some joint pain, some muscle cramping in my hands. So playing an instrument was a struggle at the time, and that's like one of the things I was like the lead guitarist, and I was part of the orchestra. Like I was super involved with the choir. So because of these issues, which they think I completely made up, because
you're not sick.
Yeah,
you're just
nobody's sick. Like,
oh, okay.
There's been people who have been actually diagnosed with certain things.
And they're going to throw up in the other room.
The only reason you have this health issue is because you have hidden sin.
Or almost if you were actually sick.
Haven't we read this in the Bible? Like when Jesus healed the blind man?
No. Yeah. He was a sinner from... what did his parents do to cause that sin?
I don't think they actually believe that necessarily, but there was definitely times where, like, if you were sick, they would be kind of like, okay, prove it. Like, which sibling saw you sick kind of thing.
Either I was faking it, or like the sin of my father was causing my joint pain.
Right.
That was kind of their thought process.
No. So just get that fixed.
So because I was having those issues, I started gearing into the sound tech, like
the live stream,
the soundboard, and then we had a live stream. And so I really started focusing on live stream, because we really didn't have a person who was really focusing on live stream at the time. And so I started doing that, and I was working with this other girl who she's the
one of the up and ups.
Yeah, she's one of the top people. She's definitely the main sound person, other than some other of the men who are there who also do sound, but she's the one who's closest to my age, and so she was teaching me and stuff. And in the very early stages, I didn't know a whole lot. So I'd be running from our live stream room to the sanctuary to ask her questions, being like, "Hey, this is going wrong. What do I do?" And she'd tell me. And so I was just learning. Little did I know that they actually told the girl who was the head sound person to purposely sabotage me.
I'm gonna just unplug
something. Literally, it'd be 5 minutes before church. And I would literally run to her and I'd be like, "I have no idea what happened. I'm I went to the bathroom. I came back. A kid must have come in there and unplugged something. I have no idea what's going on." And she'd be like, "Figure it out."
And she was told don't help her. Don't let her figure it out.
She was don't help her. Let her figure it out. And so she'd be like, "I don't have time to help you. Church is about to begin." And I was like, "I know,
bro.
church is about to begin."
I'm sorry, but if because you're right next to me.
Yeah.
If you did that, something would happen to you.
Oh,
I'd be so livid.
I already
But
did.
Amanda doesn't know
this
any
hasn't
of
been
this.
recording audio the whole time.
I'd be so mad.
I know.
No, I'm trying to grow you and make you a better person.
We're gonna get you to talk, okay?
I had no
already talked too
idea
much.
that I had no idea they were doing this on purpose. Like, I literally thought, I was like, there is like a little kid or somebody coming in here
This is
messing with stuff that they are
crazy.
not allowed to touch. And like, who is the culprit? I need to find out who the culprit is. I had no idea it was this person this whole time who was supposed to be teaching me. But yeah, so it's just like a
Oh my
provoking
goodness.
thing
Wasn't it
for
like
them to like
a year later that you found
literally
out?
like a year later, like
Year?
probably like close to when I was going to leave. I was sitting in our live stream room with the girl who is like the head sound person and the worship leader, and we were sitting in there, and he literally kind of does this. He was like, to like the head sound girl, he was kind of like, hey, remember when we used to like sabotage Amanda? And I was like sitting like right there, and I was like I was like, what? And they're
You
like,
say what?
and they were like joking about it. They're like, yeah, that was like, we would like come in and like unplug things like really close before church to see if you could like figure it out. And I was just like, oh, haha, very funny.
Thanks
In
for
my
telling
head,
me.
I was like,
also,
like you
what the
little sneakers.
like you could have done that like maybe 30 minutes before church, you know, somewhere where like I could like, I understand like trying to like throw me in the deep end and make me learn quick, you know,
Right.
but like you could do that and not a like mean way, you know, like
Which
you
she
could,
didn't say
you
any
could
of
be
that.
aware, like
She was just like,
so there's like this other
Right.
person.
What can you say, I guess?
There's this other person who in our like recording studio would do that too, but he would tell you, he'd be like, hey, I messed with this and I want to see if you can figure it out.
That's fine.
That's
Which is
fine.
That's
totally
That's
fair.
completely
That's like-
diff- that's
That was,
completely
I was
different.
fine with that, but the fact that they were just like being like so sneaky, and then like I didn't know, like I literally thought there was just like a kid messing
and
with
when
stuff.
I found out
Year
about
later-
Amanda did not tell me about this sabotage thing until we left, and I'm like,
What?
I would have gone and talked to this person and been like, what in the world? Like, not cool.
And that's the culture that's been built.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah,
it
because
keeps things rolling.
the same thing kind of happened with,
Oh, that's terrible.
not with me personally. Like, no one messed with me. Like, I don't know, didn't sabotage me. I think they saw like, oh, she got enough on her plate. Like, no more. I don't know.
She was
Whatever.
a little scarier than me, I guess.
I don't know. But I do remember at some point in time, the worship meeting, it got brought down to like the worship leaders inside of it. So like I was the lead, you know, pianist. And so
Right.
like, and so they started doing this other little mini circle, and like we would meet in the mornings, and like we were the core group on the worship. So, and so much for the whole like,
But there is no inner circle.
But these people who are clearly like taking weight in worship, like we're going to meet with them and like, and so
I'm hearing a lot of circles. Like this is like the
Yes.
third or fourth circle I've heard
and
about.
so
Yeah.
they going
But
off
there
of the
isn't.
like, we're going to just do things to make people talk. I remember at one point the worship leader took my sister off, not this sister, the other sister, because she had gotten into this group because she was the alto leader, but then like they didn't
They didn't
like
think she was talking enough.
yeah,
or
and so they were
something,
like,
you know, or
so
talking
so he
to the
just
right
removed
people.
her from the conversation
group
and just
chat.
didn't tell her like, okay, you're not going to be a part of this. And I remember because
Oh my goodness.
I
He didn't,
looked
like,
at the
talk
text
to
and
her
I was
ahead of
like,
time. He was just like,
hey,
remove.
why did she get removed? Because this is my sister. I'm like, she's part of this group. Like, she's like, what are you doing? And I remember he was telling me like, oh, we're gonna just see if it like bothers her or like if she'll talk and like
We're just gonna see if it, you know,
and
it sparks anything.
that
This is
made
so
me-
vile.
I definitely
This is the stuff that siblings do to each other. Like
Right.
when they're
Yeah.
kids, like
And at that point, yeah, the sibling thing, like I had enough of a relationship with the worship leader that I was like, that is so not cool. Like, what in the world are you doing? Like, what
Like,
will that
just
accomplish?
Talk to her.
Like, that's what I told her.
Yeah, I
I'm
thought
like,
that was your whole
why
culture.
don't you just
talk?
No, but they want you to
You
talk.
have to talk
come
to
to
them.
me, and
it's,
I
it's
won't
a
come to
one-sided
you.
thing
You
for
have to
sure.
be- And
Not
so
a
I
two-sided.
just remember like one of those moments where I just
Inner
like
circle.
said what I was thinking. I'm like, I don't think that's right. Like, completely wrong. Like, she should be added back to the group. Like, absolutely not.
right.
And so I remember talking to Michaela about that, and she's like, "What? Like,
She was
what
just
in
like
the world?
baffled.
Like,
she was like,
just
why?
like backstab a little bit.
Like,
Like,
it
what in the
didn't-
world?
It didn't like hurt her that
No,
much
because
she
she's
didn't
type
care.
of lady where she's just like
it
okay,
just didn't bother her.
If
but
you don't want me apart, like, okay, sounds good.
The thing about her is they tried so many things, and they would literally say to her, they're like, hey, I did the same thing to so-and-so yesterday, and it made them cry. Like, why isn't this making you cry?
And she's
and she'd be like,
you're trying to make...
Anyway,
she's
so it's just one of those
matter.
examples of like, okay, I don't like that very much.
I mean,
at all.
I just got to bring it back to an example of if this was a marriage. Imagine you did that to your spouse.
Right.
Why isn't this making you cry?
Right?
Oh,
like,
yeah,
or
yeah,
you're
that's
testing them
abuse.
by
that's straight up abusive.
let me trash the house and see how they react.
Yeah,
Make them think they
right. Break a dish and then gaslight them into thinking they broke it.
This is not right.
Which I mean, it's a whole nother topic if I went into that, because there was definitely a point in my life where I was like, if that's marriage, I'm not getting married. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay with being single.
I completely understand how you got to that position.
Because there was some people in my life where, like, I would go and talk to them, and the way they talked about their marriage, I'm like literally 16 years old. Like, why are you telling me this?
Why are you
like,
telling me this?
like,
that's weird.
What in the world?
You need therapy, but they don't believe in therapy.
And
so they're not going to do therapy.
Anyways.
So they're going to tell a 16-year-old girl their marriage issues.
And it just made me be like, I don't want, like, if it's not a marriage like my parents have, no thank you. Like, no.
Right.
And anyways, so I mean, we can keep going and going.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
guess.
this is going to turn into like a part 2. And
Well,
Yeah.
one episode.
getting to the point of leaving after having that conversation with Pastor Jason about like, okay, I'm leaving. I want to try to like keep the relationships here. Like, that would be great because I care about these people. Like, I love you guys. Like, and
we
I
have
don't
cousins. We have friends. We
that
have
you grew up with, and I'm like, I don't want to
people
just be
you
like
consider
adios.
parents.
But I also see my life, like my, I'm reading the Bible and I'm going like, I want to go out. I want to go preach to these people. I want to reach the lost, the least, like actually go out and help people. And of course they're like, go ahead, go for it. And like all nice about it, but also
the fruit
like,
of your life.
please leave because your family is causing problems. Come on. And
okay, but
so when I left the first time, I remember we talked about it earlier where I was like, my dad's coming with me, ? Like, is this happening kind of thing? Because he was agreeing with what I was saying. I'm like, a lot of these relationships are just one way. Like, I go and talk to them. They never come and talk to me, but like, this is anyway. So just a bunch of different points that I was bringing up and like, big things they make small, which I don't think should be the case in a church. And like
small things make it really big.
And so he's agreeing with me, and I come back downstairs. Amanda says her thing about like, you're gonna lose these relationships. I'm like, okay. And we share a room at this point, so I'm like, yay! I can't wait until we go to bed and here and there. And she kind of went to bed, I'm there with the rest of the people, and it's getting late. And my dad's like, okay, we'll just talk in the morning. Like, let's all go to bed. Yeah. And so I go to bed, and Amanda's sitting bolt right up in her bed, and she's like, I'm coming with you. And I'm like, oh, thank the Lord, because I'm like,
so awesome.
It was Amanda and I have always been close. And that was probably one of the main reasons why I was staying, was because of my family and because of the relationships. And I'm like, I don't want to lose them, but I gotta move on. I can't keep living the same cycle over and over again. And so that was one of the things that I was thinking, like, this is going to hurt really bad because, we're just close and we've always been together. And so when she said that, I was like, oh, huge sigh of relief. And I'm like, thank the Lord, I'm not going to be alone.
10 days later, she decided to go back. And guess who felt like they were like getting their heart out? That was the moment where she decided she was going back. And I like had huge doubts. Like, I was just like, should I go back? Like, am I wrong?
And at this point,
all those thoughts come back to you. Like,
too.
You were planted in this church. If you leave, you're leaving outside of God's will. All those thoughts came like back, and I was like, maybe I am wrong. Like, maybe I've been like wrong this whole time.
Right.
And so then,
and one of the things that made me go back was I was still listening to their sermons for whatever reason. I was like, and for whatever reason, I was like, it was hitting me in a certain way, and I was just missing my people, really. And I had chosen to like be let go from my job, but I loved my job. It was like one of the funnest jobs I've ever had. And I was just missing it all. I was like, man, this is hard because you go from go to nothing. And you're just at home and you're like, what am I doing with my life? Like, whoa, okay, I know I want these things, but do I want these things? Like, this many people can't be wrong about, the Bible and the church. And so I had that thought. I'm like, I can't, I don't know. And my brother, who had left years earlier, definitely, when I sent him the text, like, hey, I'm going back, he like let it rip. He's like, no, you're not. You're just being manipulated to go back because, and he said these things and it was true. And I was just like, you just don't understand. Like, I have to. And it was definitely because he had just got his family back. Like, all the people that
he had left a few years before us. So.
And it's definitely like yes, you see them on Christmas and Thanksgiving and stuff. And like, but it's kind of like you're doing your thing, we're doing our thing. Like, and you try to have, no, I didn't try to have a relationship. When he left, I was mad. I was like, fine, leave. Like, do what you want. Wow, but anyway, so he had gotten, his family back, which at this point, my mom is with my dad because, you're following your husband. And, she had called the pastor, was like, what am I doing? And he's like, go with your husband. Like, anyway, so my mom, my dad, and Amanda are still out of the church, and Michaela and I are still in. And so coming back, I like got my job back. You get those things back that you had lost, and I'm, all the things that happened afterwards, and people telling me things about my family, and like it just led to me more firmly believing what my convictions were about leaving. And like I could definitely tell there was a pull in me, like I just was not at peace where I was. And I would definitely say that's the Holy Spirit who was like being like, you're not listening to me. Like, listen to me. Like, trust me. Like, this is going to be hard, but I have better plans for you. Like, I have something more for you. And I struggled with that. And I definitely said no to the Lord many, many times. Like, no, this has got to be where I'm supposed to be. Because like Amanda was saying, like, it's the Lord's will. Like, I'm supposed to be here. It's very difficult to leave because I saw what happened. Like, Amanda was fired from her job. Like, because at first she got to keep her job because they're like, we need you. Like, absolutely. Like, you can work. Yeah, and then a day went by and like, people went and talked to them and was like, no, you can't have, Amanda around my daughter. Like, absolutely not. Like,
oh my goodness.
Like, I was so.
That's crazy.
I've been working for this business for so long that we were like starting to talk about me owning the business. Like, buying the business from them. And then, so like when I first initially told them that, like, hey, I'm, leaving GO, it was obviously a huge shock to them. But they were very much like, like, we're gonna, like, you can still work with us. It's fine. And then, like I said, the next day I woke up to a text from my boss being like, hey, give me a call. And so I was like, oh no. And I called and he told me, he's like, things are just going to be awkward.
Right.
So we can't have you, keep working with us. And then literally it was to a point, like we had this like program where they would keep track of jobs and we could like time how long each job took and stuff. And, they would schedule jobs on there and they would like assign different teams. So like my team had a color, a different team had a different color. And I just remember being like, whoa, I don't have a job. I like went into the program because I was like, what was I even gonna like do tomorrow, and immediately had a password on it. Yeah. And their son's a programmer, so like I assume their son came over and was like, we got to get a password on this
immediately.
And I was just like,
you don't know what she's gonna do.
What do you think I'm gonna do?
Show up at the job site and get the other young ladies who were working with her like, come with me.
At that point, I was just like mourning my like the loss of that relationship and like a job that I loved.
And then me going back to GO, where she's like,
and then Miriam went back to GO.
That's
and
crushing.
And I just remember when she went back and I was like doubting. I was doubting real hard. I was like, what should I do? And I knew I wanted to call somebody, who was a Christian, but not from GO. And so I had two people in mind. I had my Uncle Pete. Shout out to Uncle Pete. Love you. I called him they're from, they live in a different state, but they were like somewhat involved with our lives. But I knew them in a sense, and I knew they were Christians. So I called him and I was like, Miriam went back, and I had called him before and like told him that I had left, and we had talked about it. And I was like, Miriam went back, and now I don't know, like, am I wrong? What should I do? And he was like, and I was just like, I lost everything. Like nobody, I have my parents, and like some cousins, some siblings, but like a lot of people that I like leaned on are just out of my life anymore. And I didn't feel like I had any sort of relationship with the Lord. I had relationship with people who had a relationship with the Lord. But I didn't feel like I had the relationship with the Lord. I had to go through somebody else to get that relationship, and those people were gone. And he was like, sometimes the Lord has to take away all your support so that you can fully lean on him and fully trust in him. And that spoke to me in that moment. I'm never going to forget it. And then I also called a voice teacher who used to teach lessons at Geo, but she
questioned something. And
she is a Christian. She went to this other church, and she just like taught us voice lessons, and she's great. I love her. And
I had stop talking about Jesus, and
and she's always constantly like bringing up scriptures and great. But she happened to question one of the guys in Olympia, and they're basically like, they told everybody like, all right, no more lessons with her. She questioned what we said. No more. Obviously, she's not a true Christian because she questioned what I said.
Which we don't know what they said, but we can imagine.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was gonna say.
And so I also called her, and she was like, well, because I had called her the other day when I left, and I explained to her like why I was leaving, what kind of went down, and she could see it. Like, she had been around so many of us young people. She knew what was going on in the church. And so she understood, and then she kind of just spoke to me, and she's like, well, these are the reasons you told me you were leaving. Are any of these not true? And she just like kind of went through it again with me, and I was like, no, those, like, you're right. And she's like, well, if you believe these things, then she's like, she was kind of like, I would stick with it. Like, let's pray about it, but like, I would support you in like your decision,
talk to your old bosses too, because you had that relationship. After I came back, I remember you like laying it all out to them and basically being like, telling them the things. And I remember you telling me like, they were like, well, that is kind of true, but we're not going to change those things. And had that moment of, because at that point, I think you were like, okay, I was going to lay it all out, like, and go to someone that, I trust. And so, I mean, you could probably tell more about that conversation, but I just remember you telling me about that and then being like, no, nothing's going to change. Like, you have good points, but no.
Yeah, that was kind of like the general, like, response I got from them. I just, like, laid out different things that we've just been talking about this whole podcast episode. And they're kind of just like, yeah, but we're not going to change.
Wow.
And so I was like,
I mean, they
okay.
They can't.
I was like, okay.
Right, because then they would have to admit that they were wrong on some things, or like how they go about certain things.
Yeah.
Right.
And then like after like, we kind of make the official cut. Like, I had applied for a job locally, and I got there, like, they hired me kind of on the spot, and I started working there, and it was like, there's, some Christian people there that I started talking to, and I started talking to my friend who had left that I had seen on Instagram and been like, whoa, like, she's still a Christian. So I started talking with her more, and my parents and I, we started attending this one church, and, Pastor Andy and his wife Cindy, they were like great. And there's this
They're awesome.
women's meeting that they had Wednesdays that me and my mom started going to, where I just like, it's like me and a bunch of like, 50 age plus like women,
that's
like,
that's
but
awesome.
It was great because I was like, I was just surrounded by this like years of testimonies of what the Lord can do in your life. And they were just like feeding me all of their testimonies. And it was just like exactly what I needed. I needed to hear that the Lord can do something like outside of what I had known my entire life.
Yeah.
And some crazy testimonies. There's a lady who was there who kind of went to a similar church,
like
that
very
and
she definitely helped me a lot.
Yeah, she and her husband like moved on from the church that they were involved with, and she has like a very similar testimony to us, and it was wild, and it was good to hear. I was like, wow, I'm not alone, you know.
My goodness.
Even locally, because like I said, they taught us our whole lives. We're the remnant. We're like the only true Christians, and we left the church and we started getting connected to these Christians, and I was like, it opened my eyes. I was like, not only are they not the remnant of like the whole entire world, but they're not even the like remnant of Humboldt County.
There's
Eureka.
a lot of good churches.
There's a lot of
and a great community.
A great community, a lot of churches. And then our parents reconnected with Desi and Kim, because Desi and Kim had been NGO, and my parents like went to Desi's like youth group. Like he was their like youth group leader. And so like they had this relationship with them, and they reconnected, and they had dinner and like talked about stuff.
And we reconnected with the other family that had left too. And a lot of, you know what they're saying. It just, every time that we would talk to someone outside, like who had left, it just blew my mind of how like sound they were, and like how like
and how
they weren't like
they didn't follow the script, because we're told like in jail like, oh, if you can go talk to them, but they're just gonna say this and this and this to you,
right?
And then we'd go and actually talk to those people, and they would say none of that. They would actually be like, I don't know.
And they all have their stories and their walk, and like
so many different stories,
you know, ended up. And you know, there are some really encouraging stories where you know, some people would be like, yeah, I went crazy, like there was a time in my life, but God saw me through it,
went crazy.
And you know, restored relationships, and like you just hear those things and you get encouraged. And so this is Amanda is still out, and I'm still in GO, and I just remember when I would have those sneaky coffee dates with her, like how
just so awesome, by the way. That's so cool.
Which okay, I was in the church, but I also was living not with my parents. I mean, I was living like 3 houses down, so I was like,
it's just
I was in the neighborhood,
family, you know,
and they were very
loving.
They were very both me and my sister were living with them for a while, and they're just an older couple. And you know, I would say there's like the Jim Durkin era of GO, and then you know, the next generation. So this era,
Jim Durkin.
They didn't. I would be like, hey, I'm gonna go get coffee with Amanda, and they're like, cool, okay, sounds good. They're not gonna go. I know they wouldn't go tell like, you know, Pastor Jason that, because they're like, yeah, she's your family. Like they weren't part of the
like their sons had left, and they still have a relationship with their son. Like some people actually get away with that, and well, nobody cares, but it's like they're the older people in the church, and they're focused on the young people, so it's like they can
they can be in the shadows,
they can do that. But if you're a young person and you're reaching out to somebody who's left the church, it's like
it's dangerous,
and so they were like, okay, sounds good, like have fun. And so I would go, and I'm in all this turmoil and like wrestling with things, because I'm like, I want to be here, but I don't want to be here. And like, you know, and Amanda could probably tell. And she's just okay, she's asked to go to coffee with me.
I just let her talk.
Exactly.
I know she needed it.
Amanda's getting these, you know, different women in her life, and like just people pouring into her and like encouraging her. And like, I'm telling Amanda just these different things about like what's going on. And, you know, I could just tell there's a piece about Amanda. Like, she's just like, okay, yeah. Miriam, all I want for you is to be at peace and like be like where the Lord wants you. Like, it's just literally like, and I'm like,
not to mention
she's
that
not convincing me to leave. Like, what is wrong with you?
And not to mention that the
not following script.
The women who I was meeting with, you know, every Wednesday, all those like women who were just like pouring into me, like we were praying for Miriam. Like we would go to these like coffee dates, and then I'd come back and I'd like tell them about it, and we'd like pray for her. So like Miriam, it's just like a testimony to be like, people who don't even know Miriam cared so much and would pray about her and really want that like freedom. And like, and then there's the other side where she was and still in the church, and she was struggling. Like, it was clear she was struggling, and the people there were like, do better. you know? And it's just like,
I mean, there's a little bit of like I don't know what you call it, like, not coddling, but like, oh, welcome back, like, you know, like very warm and welcoming. But then also like, because there had been people who had left and come back before and like had lived in, you know, just different houses. And, you know, some people were telling me like, well, don't expect to live in a house with like children because people, you know, just different things like that where I'm like, okay, where am I going to go? Like, I can't stay with my parents. And like, anyway,
you're
so
bad
like
influence on all the children all of a sudden.
Which...
Miriam.
Anyways.
Can't be left in a room with children.
There was definitely a time
you're really good with,
with kids.
Which,
that was another thing in Geo where, you know, I got not famous for, but like people knew like I was good with kids.
Yeah.
And
I'm expecting her first, by the way.
Yes.
Yes. I'm so excited.
Chub. But, and so anyways, I'm, you know, doing my back and forth thing, like trying to figure out like, what am I doing with my life kind of thing. And having that pull like from the Holy Spirit and just being like, no, this is not where I have you. And I think it was on purpose, that turmoil or that like, the call or the pull or whatever you want to call it. And I just remember when my sister left, I, you know, was full on supporting her in it too, because I was like, look, you need to decide where you want to be. And I had seen how people were treating her. And I was like, it's just not a good environment for her. And she did eventually leave. And then after she had left, stories were going on about how she even left. And like, she was very respectful with how she left. Like, she went to the pastor and like had a conversation. Like, she didn't have to do this. Had a conversation with him, had a conversation with the people we were living with. And very much like, she had decided in her mind, like, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go back home with my parents. And like, that's that. And and, you know, the couple we were staying with, he was like, well, why don't you just stay another night and, like, we'll talk about this in the morning. And she's like, no, I'm going home. Like, anyways. And so she went home and, you know, I went there with her and I was talking with my parents and her for a while. And, of course, my parents are thrilled. They're like, you know, yay. Like, of course, like, reassuring her, like, look, if you want to still be in jail, like, that's completely fine. We do not care. Like, we just want a relationship with you. Like, that would be great.
Yeah.
And so she, you know, officially left. And I just remember not crying at that point and just being like, look, I love you. I'm here for you. Like, and then the walk back outside of that was probably one of the hardest walks I've ever had, because I'm like, I'm leaving behind these people that I love very, very much. And I know the backlash that's going to come after, you know, after your sister leaves, like, and I'm feeling alone because I'm like, I'm the only Barney left at this point from my family who's still in the church. And I just remember crying all the way to their home. And then I just remember being like, hey, no more tears. Like, and going in and the next day, you know, I got a call from the pastor who was in Maui and like, how are you? Like, oh my goodness. And like, you think like, oh man, wow, he really cares. Like, he's calling me from Maui to like check on me and like, and so I had the moment of like, well, I'm doing fine. Like, I'm, you know, where the Lord wants me to be. I'm still building with you guys kind of attitude. And I remember Pastor Jason also calling me, and I can't remember what I asked him. Probably something along the lines of like, is my family, like, what's going to happen to them? Like, because I'm thinking like, I still see them going to church. And like, whenever I'm there, they're talking about, you know, what they're hearing and like the different people they're talking to, and it's encouraging. And I'm like, I've never seen my dad so free, and I've never seen him so like, he actually gets to talk to his daughters now. Like, it's just one of those things that I'm seeing. I'm like, I want this. And so like, it just, and his response was not very helpful at all. Like, I don't know. And I left it at that. And I'm like, they don't have an answer to anything. Like, what? Like, any big question I had, I'm like, it's just like, no, we're doing this. And like, if you want to leave, go ahead. And like, no real like fight for my family. I feel like that was it, where like, we're told our whole lives, like, we love you. We'll do anything for you. Like, we'll drop everything. We'll give you $1 million. Like, we'll do whatever it takes to get you back. And then my family's gone and no one's doing anything. I'm like,
as soon as you
and they're
leave,
making up all these stories about us instead.
This is really the place where they need to be, and like the only place where like they can build and like have a good life.
Yeah, if you
and, like,
truly believe that
why would you
there?
not be fighting tooth and nail to get them back? Like, what is wrong with you people? Like, you don't actually care. And like coming to that realization, you know, it hurts because you're like, I love these people and they're good people. Like, you know, with, like we said, like with good intentions, you're just trying your best. And I just remember one of the worship meetings, someone had asked a question, and I had answered like something like, well, you just don't care about them, or like something along those lines. And they're like, man, that's so true. Like, that's so good. I wanted to get up and like leave right then and there, because I'm like, and I wanted to say like none of you care about my family, like, but of course that's not the time, you know. You can't say that there. And just being more and more convinced like this is not where I'm supposed to be. And then when I finally did leave, I think the place where I was working, which I didn't mention this the first time, but
I was gonna ask,
and
I think
the Nathan and Ben, so I was working at a construction company, believe it or not, when I was, and their friends, Nathan and Ben Sneed, were working for them for a while, and then they moved to South Dakota. And I remember that was my first realization of like, there are other people out there who believe like I do. And like having conversations with Nathan, like driving back from the job site or whatever. And I'm like, who is this guy? Like, what's going on? And same with Ben, like just having those conversations. And I knew those were people I could call and like talk to, because they had seen a little bit of like Geo, like, you know, of course, like come to volleyball, and like Ben came to volleyball at one point, and he's like, it was fun, but he was like, it's kind of weird, but
which is very, very Ben. Which, by the way, shout out you guys, and Nathan. We did an episode with Nathan a little while back talking about college.
Check that out.
Yeah, he's like my oldest friend.
Yeah,
he's one of my best friends, and I'm like, oh, you guys, because I was talking with him. And partially, you guys came up, and it was just like,
connections.
Wow.
And so at that point, in the 10 days that I had left, I had reached out to them because I was like, look, guys, I just lost my job at this, you know, where I was. And they're like, I'm so sorry. Like, and I got to call them and specifically talk with, you know, Vanessa and Bethany too. And they were just a huge encouragement to me, and like basically being like, literally, we will drop anything, like we will, you know, come to South Dakota, like come work for us, like we'll get you a house, like you know.
So
they
cool.
said the same thing to me. No,
like,
they would have taken
anyone. Literally. And so there was a moment there where I just realized, I'm like, these people who knew me for like a year or two, like, and you know, I'm reaching out to them, like letting them know, like, this is just kind of what happened.
Just fell apart.
And them being like willing to do pretty much anything. And I'm like,
so cool.
These people that I've known for like 2 years, and like obviously they love the Lord, like all those things, like they're not just being good people, like, oh, we better help this lady out. You know, they actually like cared, and that spoke a lot more to like the character of people, or like just going like, man, people who have only known me for 2 years are willing to do so much for me, when these people who I've known for my whole life, who have watched me grow up, and like,
go ahead
just, like,
and leave. Yeah.
Wow.
And it hurts because you're like, you know, you care about people there, and you hear like, oh, we love you, we do anything for you, but then, you know I could always go back and talk to whoever from there, and they would, you know, listen and be open. But of course, they're not going to come and, you know, call us and like, and so when I had decided to go back, I like let them know, like, actually, I'm not coming to South Dakota. Like, I had bought tickets. I was like on my way.
Fly to South Dakota. She was
It was a wild time.
It was buy a plane ticket.
Yeah. And so,
and then she went back to jail.
And I went back to jail for a while there. And I just remember telling my boss that too, like, man, Nathan and Ben, they were, because I got my job back eventually. which was like, oh, good, you're back. And which was kind of funny because they're like, I don't know what we would have done without you. There were so many jobs coming up. I'm like, And so I was like, well, you're welcome.
You don't have to fire me.
Yeah, you didn't have to fire me. Well, I quit.
Right.
In a way.
Encouraged to
And so
quit.
I had mentioned the Nathan and Ben, and they're like, wow, that's amazing. And I'm like, yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then when I left the second time, after all the stuff that happened, I reached out to them again. I was like, hey, I left again. And this time I kind of got like, not fired in a way, but it was definitely like, okay, you can keep working for us because we see like you're not, like we've seen you through some things. Like you're not going to, I don't know, tear the company down or like stop working right or like try to get, the other people who are working there to like come on your side kind of thing. Like they knew me well enough to be like, okay, you can stay. And then like a couple weeks later, it's like, actually no. Where it was like work is getting slow, so we're gonna have to let you go.
But they just hired a new employee.
I'm like,
and
why
instead
would
of letting him go, they let their 5-year employee go.
Anyways, so there was a lot of things I was just like, seriously? Okay. And so I let Ben and Nathan know again, and they're like, come to us, we'll have work.
Oh, they would have taken you in a heartbeat. For sure. But they're also as much as they wanted help with the business too, they are incredibly generous people. They treat people like I'm like I always felt like I was a part of their family like almost immediately. They're just very
very encouraging and and so when I had officially like left the second time, I was let go, so I had a 2 weeks, and I was like, okay, my stubborn self, I'm like, it's gonna be the best 2 weeks ever. I'm like gonna give myself all the way to you guys, and like I'm gonna be super fast with work. And like,
did you ever leave that?
Well,
that thing in their van?
I did it the first time.
But did you? I thought I remember you like took it out or something. I did, and then so they never knew about that.
Oh, I told them about it.
Okay.
And they weren't so thrilled
There's
about
just this like inside joke. There's a company van that like multiple people like in the company drove around, and
I ended up driving it.
The girl crew.
It was my van.
Yeah,
and it was like the girl crew.
Happened to find
No.
Okay.
No. So we're out of jobs.
This is a good story. This
is kind of
like a little rabbit trail, but
it is funny. So we're at a job site, and my boss falls off a ladder, and he is a tough
He's
guy.
A very tough
tough.
Yeah.
And he doesn't show pain very much, but because you hear the crash and like you're like, oh my goodness, he broke his back probably. And so me and I don't want to use his name, but okay, another employee came down, and he's like 16 years old. Okay, he's a little younger.
Yeah.
And so we're like, "How are you? Like, are you okay?" And he gets up and he's like, "I'm fine. I'm okay." And of course, the client heard it, so they're coming out, and he's making light of it. He's like, "Oh, I just put the ladder on the wrong spot. Like, I'm completely fine. I'm okay." And so they go back inside. And so he keeps working because he's tough. He's just like, I'm fine. And then a little while later, he's like to the 16-year-old, you got to go find me some like Advil or, Tylenol, something, because, my back hurts really bad and my head hurts. Like everything hurts. I need something. And so he goes off and he's going to go find it. And I'm, working on something else. And he finds, in the van, because we had been using it for a while and we had cleaned it out from the last person who used it.
But didn't clean it out well
there's
enough,
like a shelf thing above the driver's seats, and we didn't check up there. And so he can't find any Advil. He can't find nothing. But what he does find is like gas relief.
Gas
X. And so he's like, he comes back to my boss and he's just like, oh, I found some Gas X in there. And so then my boss is like, stop looking around in there, because he's like, it's a girl van, so who knows like what else you're gonna find. Like, you don't need to go looking in there anymore.
Feminine products, there's like, it's scary.
So I hear the 16-year-old kind of like he's like put it back. He's like, just leave it up there, it's fine. It's none of our business kind of thing.
Yeah. Someone's gassy, it's none of our business.
And so then I'm like, I know where the Tylenol is and like that stuff. Like, I'm gonna go find it because the guy's in pain. Like, and the whole time, the 16-year-old's like looking at me funny, and I'm like, "What are you looking at?" And he's just like, and like making eyes with my boss. And so I go and I'm looking, and I find the gas X, and I'm like cracking up about it. I'm like, haha, we didn't find this, and I'm like showing the other girl on the crew, and I'm like, look at this, ha ha ha. And she's like, that's so funny. And I find some Advil, I give it to him, and I was like, look what I found in the van. And the 16-year-old's like, I thought that was yours. And James is like, me too. Like, I'm like, what do I need this for?
Oh my
I'm
God.
like, this isn't mine. This is the last guy's, you know,
Right.
who had it. And so it just kind of became a joke in that company, like, at least do you need some gas eggs? And like, so it was just very fun.
That's funny.
It just, I was giving the 16-year-old a very hard time. I'm like, really get,
yeah. But then all to tie it into when you stopped working for them.
When I stopped working for them, the first time, they're like, okay, hey, clean out the van of all your tools, and like,
Right.
just as a joke,
because she wanted it to be like the best last
like the 2 weeks. I wanted to give them a laugh, and so I bought some more gas X, and then wrote my boss's name on it, like, this is so and so's, and this is this guy's, and so just as a joke, and like I hit it back where I found it, and I'm like, when they find it, they'll just laugh and be like, oh man, we miss Miriam, like, you know, and they didn't end up finding it. It was kind of sad because I came back and I'm like, did you find my joke? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like,
oh no,
the gas X. And they're like, no. They did not take it very well. They're like, that's not funny. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's not
we
funny.
decide when things are funny.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
Right.
They're like, you're back and now serious. And anyways, it was a fun day, and I put the gas X in the 16-year-old's tool bag just to mess with him. I'm like,
that's funny.
And
That's
so
so
we
funny.
had some like really good times on the crew, and I just remember like my very last day, we were working on this garage build thing, and my Uncle Joe was actually on the job site because they had hired North Coast to like do the concrete work or like just do something with the floors. And I was like, what good timing, because he had heard like everything that was going down, and he was like, hey, how's it going? And I'm like, well, this is my last day. And he's like, oh, is it because? I'm like, yes, it's because I left the church. And, you know, of course he's, you know, being encouraging and all that good stuff. And like, you know, it was Taco Friday, so we had tacos, and I almost wanted to be like, Joe, come have tacos with me so I'm not alone with these people, because
it's hard.
like, it's so awkward because I'm like, and like the whole day I'm like installing stair treads or something, and I'm like, I'm going fast, like I'm doing the thing, and I remember my boss walking by and he's like, you're so fast. I'm like, yeah, you're firing me, so you're lost. And anyways, and so those last 2 weeks was definitely, I had fun. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna miss this job, but okay, you know, there's something better for me. You know, I'm gonna go for it. And it definitely was there was definitely some times where I'm like, okay, you guys are slow. And because my other boss, you know, came in and was talking about this $1 million contract that they might get. I'm like, okay, you guys are just using this as an excuse. Okay, you could just tell me. Okay. And so after I had left officially, like, huge weight off of my back. And of course, like, it's all sad and crushing because you see the effects it has on the people that you're leaving, because they don't understand. They're like, why would you leave? Like, this is the best place to be. Like, how could you? And that's hard too, because you can't explain it to them because they don't understand.
Yeah.
Or they don't have the whole picture. They don't know like the whole story of what's going on.
We've said,
and
before,
it's not the time to do it either. I'm not going to try to convince anyone of anything. Like, it's your decision. You know,
it's not my mission in life to draw people out of GO. If people do leave GO, I will reach out, because it's something I've walked through, and it, like we've said, everybody has their own story, and part of my story is leaving GO and continuing to be a Christian. And if that's what the person who leaves wants, you know, I would want to be there to be a huge encouragement for them, you know? And but it's not like my mission in life. Like, I I'm married now. I have a husband. I have a job. I have friends. Like, I'm not constantly brewing on how I can get more people to leave GO. It's just, you know, that's.
Yeah. And I think the after effects of me leaving, there was a time, you know, where it's all the drama is done with the family. Like, we've all made it to the point of like, okay, we've all left. And we're just healing as a family because there's been so much that has gone down, and we're just telling like each other like just things that we had never told each other, like this happened to me, and like, you know, and it was a struggle, and like all these things, and like finally being able to tell the people that you are closest to like those things, and like they were, you know, just a hug, like just a like, you know, encouraging word. Like there was times where we would just be like in the living room just talking with my parents because we hadn't done that in years. And like,
that's insane.
Literally, like we like leave GO, and like after leaving GO, like the TV rarely came on because like we actually wanted to talk to one another. We actually had something to talk about with one another,
and it wasn't like let's bash GO and like
it was
tell all those
like,
horrible things, but it was like
you can finally be open.
We're gonna
some things did go down, and some, like we said, some things hurt, like you know, losing the job to these people that I considered to be parents, like second parents to me. Like I needed to talk about that, and you know, so like I'd just be in the living room, you know, kind of talking to my parents about that, you know, crying about it and being like, this sucks, but also I know this is what the Lord has for me. And it did draw me and my family a lot closer to the Lord, and it grew our relationships in our family, but then also with just in the Lord. And like there's a lot of my like biggest things when I left was like, along with there not being like another church as strong as GO, like, you know, I genuinely believed that GO was like one of the only churches here. It took me a while to like discover more people and more churches, but like on top of that, I thought there was going to be like nobody my age, you know, who were Christians, you know, like if there are churches with people, like even like the first church I went to, it was a lot of older people, you know, and I was like, we were like some of the youngest people there, and we are like, well, one of the things that, you know, I was like, I really, really want good, godly friends because, you know, I had really good, godly friends in GO, and it was something I was missing out. And I was just genuinely thought like, there's nobody out here. And then my parents got connected with Kim and Desi again. They had us over for dinner. We met Joe and some of his brothers and his cousin.
Shout out to Kim, who was like,
Kim was like, we're gonna make this dinner happen. There's like a few nights where Joe was committed to like other things. And
she's like, no, you're going to come and eat food.
Everybody has to be there. This is a family event. You have to meet this family.
Well, because she was excited. She's like, oh, I get my friends back. Like, this is like,
excited.
I heard about it too. I heard the Barneys are coming over for dinner. I'm just like,
he was like, people, they're gonna be part of the friend group.
We didn't know this beforehand, but Kim, like, because Joe has a friend group, which these two are a part of. They're a part of his friend group, along with their wives and like some other people that they know. And so Kim was like, I guess she debriefed the friend group before we even entered the friend group's like life.
We were prepared for you guys.
She's like, there's these two girls. They're gonna be your friends. They're from a cult, but you wouldn't ever know it.
They're totally normal.
I mean, that's normal.
Verbatim.
Which clarification, you guys are awesome.
Right.
And
I love Kim. Yeah. She's my mother-in-law. Yeah. She's basically just a mom, you know. I just love her dearly, and she definitely made it happen, you know.
She did.
Because she heard that I wanted some friends, and she was like heard on it, and she made it happen.
And Amanda's like, you're coming with me because I'm not gonna be by myself while I meet this friend group. Like, okay,
I dragged Miriam along, and I wanted. And then Miriam was like, you know, she loved her previous job in GO and stuff. Which, little did she know the best job to come was with her future husband. So
I was getting to that. And so I had told Nathan and Ben, because we're, you know, and Vanessa and Ben, just little updates because, you know, they were praying for me. They're like, look, because I don't know what I was going to do. I'm like, do I apply for a job? Like, and at the time, I just felt like, no, just wait. Like,
Yep.
Just, not decompress and like just focus on the healing and, reading the Bible and like just different things like that, which was a really good time for all of us to just like slow down, like take a minute and just breathe. And like get connected to those relationships that you haven't had in years. Like with my cousins, like it was a blast. Like I'm like,
my brother,
I can just go to coffee with you and we can just talk. And
we
like,
went and threw axes with our brother. Like that was great.
I mean, he was thrilled. He's like, well, and when he first started, he's like, do you want to like go to breakfast? Like, it was just fun.
That's so cool.
And so, I told Nathan and Ben about the group and they're like, no way, that's our friends. And so they're like, they're really good people. Like, totally, this is great. And so they were very excited about it. And so I can just imagine the conversations that were happening. And like,
so when you had first talked with Nathan, and Nathan actually told you about the Bible study we have at our house.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And then you guys come not knowing that it was the same Bible study.
Like, hello, everybody. And it was a really good Bible study, by the way. It was very, like Amanda was saying, like the women's group at Harvest Church, shout out to them, like to any,
Love all of them.
it was definitely a good time and a place, and just like them telling their stories, like Amanda was saying, and like
I still go to that group.
Right.
One of the ladies there was like, wait a second, so you know how to do things in a house, right? And I'm like, yeah. And so she's like, could you replace a window and put a sliding door in and like do all these things? And I'm like, yes, I can do that. And so I started going over to her house and just doing handiwork things for her. And it was a blast because, she'd be like, come eat lunch with me. And like, we would just talk and like, hearing her stories and like her side of coming out of, I will say, a cult. It was very intense and like it just like it blew my mind. I'm like, because I would say something and she would just understand. She's like, oh yeah, no, I totally understand. I know where you're coming from. And she's like, I'm this many years out from it. I'm gonna tell you like the Lord is faithful, like this and this and this. And there are some things that she's gone through that are really hard, like really way beyond anything I've ever gone through. And she's just like, no, the Lord is so good and faithful.
Horrible
and like
loss.
And so through that, she started asking for bigger things, like, well, could you like put a bathroom in, inside this car garage, like
just a bathroom.
And I'm like,
just a bathroom.
Technically, I can do that, but not alone. I can't do it alone. Yeah. And so coming to this Bible study group, I knew like, some of the guys could do some construction. And this is when I first met Joel, and he comes bounding into the Bible study group with these
bounding is an adjective.
With orange glasses,
pink lenses.
He's just like big old smile on his face. My grandma calls him Tigger, and I agree.
100%
he is. And,
just
bounces into your room.
I'm like, who is this guy? And I think it was someone asked him like, Joel, what are those glasses? And he's like, they just make me happy. Like it makes everything happy.
I remember that very vividly.
That
was so funny.
It was a fun
I think
Bible
I
study.
asked him.
Probably. Yeah.
And so the more, we're going to Bible study, we're going to these meetings with these in church and like all these things and like getting involved with different people. But I just remember being like, okay, Betty, that's a little out, like, yes, I can do it, but I need help. And so I remember asking the group, like just throwing it out there, like, does anyone do this? And of course, Joel's like, I do. And so, and at first I was like, I don't know this guy. Like, I don't know his work. So like I told Betty about him and he's going to come over and we're going to like walk through the job. And as soon as Joel started talking about like, Joel, or he's just like, okay, we're going to need calculating in his brain this amount of lumber. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And like, he's just that kind of guy where he's just like, okay, this is going to take this, and rattles it off. And at first we just needed to move a door. And then I was like, well, can you move the plumbing and the electrical? And he's like, yeah, no problem. I'm like, okay, he knows how to do everything. Sounds good. Like, how about you just do the job?
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, you do the job. I'll be your helper.
Yeah. And I remember Amanda had come over to help Betty with some of the gardening because Betty, she's just like, you know how to do this? Come here. Like, you do this? Yeah, come on over. And like, she's a very welcoming lady, and like she's
so
such a I really value her friendship. And so, I can see her and Betty, looking at Joel and I. And
we
granted, I don't know this guy.
On her like doorstep, and we just see like Miriam and Joel like talking about the job, and Joel like bouncing circles around Miriam and like smiling and stuff. And we were kind of looking at each other like,
oh, it was so obvious. I literally told Jamie and Caleb, I think, during Bible study, I said out loud with him like 5 feet away, not to where he could hear. I'm like, he's flirting with Miriam. I'm like, he's literally flirting with Miriam.
Now hold on. I think was he talking about?
He was talking about cars.
I had asked. Yeah. So I had learnned because we're like,
that's his flirting.
We are, going on hikes together. We're going to Bible study. We're working game nights, like all these things, and like life just like threw me at him and was like, "You're doing life with him," and so at one point he had mentioned something and. We worked really well together. Like, I know how to do like plumbing, like some of those things, but I'm like, I'm not going to like go for it. You do. Like, I'm more of like the finisher, like the, trim work, and like the cabinets, like that kind of work. And so I'm like, this is going to work great because Joel can do the grunt work and I'll do the like pretty work. And I just remember, what was it? Yeah, so we just started working together because then he's like, hey, do you want to help me on this job? And I remember at first being like, I don't know. I'm like, we'll just be like working like just doing a lot together. But the more I got to know him, I'm like, okay, this guy's pretty cool. And of course, Amanda's like, oh, do you like Joel? And I'm like,
yeah, literally
as a friend,
Betty and
yes.
I, like, it was like the first time they were like working together. And Betty and I were like over there, and Betty was like, what do you think? And I was like, we'll see.
And so, yeah, the more we hung out together, it was just like, we just clicked, and it was great. And I will say Joel and his friend Andrew definitely challenged me on a lot of things that I would say, and like
a lot of
they'd be like
things that we
okay, where does that say in the Bible? And like so they definitely helped me like rethink things through and like be like, hold up, like wait a second. And I really had that in a friend, just someone just being like, so like, no, that's wrong, and this is why. And like, but in a way where I wasn't like, okay, like you're right, but in a way where I was like, no, okay, tell me more.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of hiking trips and things, but I do remember asking him about some car thing, and Joel will go off on a tangent about something, like especially if he's excited about it. And so I just remember
he totally was. It did not to normal people, but to me, I've known Joel since he was like 10,
and I didn't like pick up on it. I was just like learning about this car thing because he's a very good explainer, and like he's very like detailed, and like he's gonna make sure you understand because he has 9 younger siblings, so he's very good at it. And when it has to do with trucks and cars, I just smile and nod. I'm like, okay, that's nice. But he did make me understand. But I do remember, like, there was a certain moment, I think, on the hiking trip where I was just like, man, I actually think I like this guy. Like, he's, And so just seeing even how that all worked, where the Lord's like, hey, I got something better for you. Would you get out of there? And like,
all going. In his timing, though.
All in his timing. Really, and when I had left Geo, I had no thought about like, I want to go get a guy, and like,
yeah, me neither.
Like, I was like, I want to focus on the Lord, and
that
like,
was pretty much it.
Reaching people, and like, I didn't really know how I was gonna go about that. I'm like, am I just gonna like start walking the streets or something? Which is totally like done that with Joel before, because he was like, hey, I'm gonna go do this. So you want to come? And I'm like, okay, sounds good. And so
that's so awesome.
He was a very inviting man.
Yeah.
And so just the different steps that led, the friend group together, and like getting to know them. And I just remember the first time going to one of those game nights, and I'm like, these people are just like singing hymns and like hanging out and just having a good time. I'm like,
what really struck me about the friend group that was just different than anything I'd ever experienced, even with like the friend group I grew up with, was the fact that like we could be in the middle of a like board game, card game, middle of a hike, middle of anything, and then all this well, not even theology, but somebody would like mention something and we'd be like, let's pray about that, and we'd all stop and we'd pray about it. Like even in GO, that doesn't happen.
Right.
Unless it's like traumatic, unless something like traumatic happens. But it'd be like the smallest things. Like it'd just be like someone would mention something and be like, oh, let's pray about that. And we'd all stop what we were doing and pray about it. And I just was like, this is wild.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
or different questions that people brought up. Like, I remember someone bringing up like fasting or something. Like, what do you guys think about fasting? And like that starts the whole conversation. And like,
we hadn't really ever done fasting.
I feel like I remember that.
Get somebody in the group going, and
and it just goes and goes
and goes. Yeah,
and it was really, really cool to see, because I'm like, man, these people like actually know the Bible. Like we knew the Bible. Like we had the scriptures. We had all this knowledge in our brains, but like actually putting it to like life and like practical uses of it. And like, I'm like, this is so cool. Like I've never thought of the scripture like this, and like never been so free in it. And and then they started, being like, hey, do you want to help out with these youth groups? And like that started a whole, time in our lives where it was like, okay, youth groups sounds good. Like, and there are a lot of broken kids out there.
Oh yeah.
And going out to Triumphant Life Camp and like serving out there, like it changes you in a good way. Like it sharpens you. It makes you like cry out to the Lord even more. And you're just like, I am not enough for these kids, and I know it, and I know the one who is enough. So
there'd be like a 13-year-old where I'm like, you have had it
way worse than
I have ever had it, and you're not even an adult yet. And I was just like, it just opens up your eyes to like
see the people around you,
see the need. And like just to like bring it back to like GO, like they are very like and like give to their kids, and they're like next generation, let's give to the kids. It's raise them up in the way they should go, and they won't stray from it. And they're really good about that with their own kids. But I was just like, there are so many kids in our community who
are just people who are hurting.
Yeah, they're so broken. They like maybe broken households, like like parents don't live together, or like even if they do, it's like, and it's just like there's so like every single person in GO could be giving so much to these like young people who like really, really need it. But instead they're just like focusing in on themselves. And that's why we kind of joke around about it's really not gospel outreach anymore. They do post videos,
and it's reaching people.
And it's reaching some people. And but I mean, even they're like, they like record their sermons, and you think like, there's like Faith Center who they live stream and record their sermons, and they post it out and they give the links and stuff.
But it's
and then GO, it's like even if you're part of GO, like if you're not a certain like sort of you don't even get the link to your own church's like sermon. It's like why even have the cameras? Why even record it if you're not gonna give it out? Like are you trying to hide something, or are you like, I don't know, like
it's
if you're like the remnant, and and you feel like you're called to outreach to the world, and you genuinely believe that the Lord like,
and you're using all these tools,
has called you to be a remnant, and you're like becoming very excellent in anything you put your hands to, whether it be music, video, like all these things. They're like really, really good at what they do, and they could, I don't know. It's just like, that would be like my main thing about GO is like actually outreach, try it, give it a try and see what happens. You're always saying the Lord's taking us somewhere, we're going somewhere, but like, how are you ever going to go somewhere if you never take that step of faith?
Just seems like it's stagnant.
Yeah. The man makes his plans, but the Lord directs his steps. And you actually have to take a step for the Lord to guide you in it.
Which you guys ended up, you ended up with the right, you guys ended up with the right guys, the two guys who are like, they love, they both love the kids, both love a TLC and serving there as soon as Joe and Joel, I remember when they first started, like, especially for Joe, and Joel, they were just like, we want to do this all the time. And they were actually talking with Nathan, because Nathan was the same way. Nathan's great with kids. They were talking about even like maybe one day they could like buy the camp and redo
so cool.
it.
Oh,
they
nice.
were so determined. But it's you see now you see that need. You're like, wait.
My eyes were just like open to a whole world that I was like had just absolutely no clue about.
Right.
And it's just like I don't know if they're waiting for like an angel to come down and say to them, this is where you're going, because they're saying we're going somewhere constantly, but never like this is it. And maybe they're like, I don't know, like if they're waiting for like the Lord to like poof through the clouds and tell them, this is it, guys, go. But I don't.
That's a cultish thing to do.
You know, it seems like the Lord works in mysterious ways. And a lot of time he's not going to make it very clear. He's just going to ask you to move and put your faith in him.
Yep.
And you're going to have to trust him in that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I know a lot of people in Geo, like we've talked about, like they would be amazing out at TLC. And like,
they'd be so great.
But I also think that there's a lot of growing for them to do too, because I remember asking some people like, what would you do if someone came up to you and, you know, said this? And they were just like, I have no idea what I would say. Like I would even say like me at, you know, 3 years ago, like I would have no idea what to say to a child who's broken, and like, you know, or like someone who came, I'd be like, talk to your pastor, I don't know. But like walking through some things, like you actually get to help people, and you can look back and see like, I don't know where the Lord was taking me when he was like, nope, you're not going there anymore, you're going here. And there was a while where I was like, I have no idea, but this time is to talk to people and just to heal and just to like, okay, this is what's in front of me, I'm gonna do it. And like just taking those steps and seeing, like looking back, I'm like, man, the Lord definitely has blessed us way beyond anything we could have imagined. Like and seeing all our friends being blessed too, like it's just a cool journey. But I would also say like to the people there, like, what would your answer be to people who are, you know, really hurting? And like, I wouldn't necessarily have an answer. Like I would be like, Jesus, like, you know, with a question mark, like, but like actually having some grit behind it and some like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah. And I just say for like anybody who is listening to this, who is just in any sort of environment where you're listening to this and you're like, whoa, like like I'm living through this or something, and you feel that the Lord's calling out to you. Like I remember when I was still in Geo, I was at this one job site and I was trimming a hedge and I had headphones on and like the trimmer was really loud, and I just remember being like literally calling out to the Lord because I knew nobody could like actually hear me because like the trimmer was like so loud. And I was just like, I listed every single thing that I had issues with directly to the Lord. I was like, Lord, what is up about this? And I was just went down the list and named everything. And I was just like, well, I gave it to Lord and we'll see what happens. And then like a few months later, because I was literally like, Lord, it doesn't seem like my family is called to be here. Like, and I was giving him specific reasons why. I was like, because this reason with like my dad, because this reason with my mom, because this reason with my sister. And I was just going down and I was like, I don't feel like we are meant to be here. But we're here. Why are we still here? And then literally like a few months later, we leave. Like he literally was like, he heard it and he called us out. And he was
that's
like,
amazing.
And he placed us in like specific places. Like my parents being at Harvest was like exactly where they needed to be. It was exactly where I needed to be for a few months, and like now I'm at my husband's church, you know. Because that's where my husband's at, and same with Miriam, you know, we're at different churches now, but it's exactly where like we need to be. And like the timing of everything, literally my mom ran into Kim Lueras at a random concert. She had already kind of been thinking about reaching out to Kim, but then like they just happened to be at this concert, and so my mom's like, I'm gonna do it. So literally the Lord would like place Kim in front of my mom and like, go to her.
Like ask the Lord, like, I'm not gonna reach out to these people. If I run into them, then I'll
talk to them. She's very much like, I'm not gonna go like,
because just of, everything that was going on. She's like, I don't want to like stir the pot, like just create
she doesn't
something that
gossip or anything. But
and she's like, Lord, if you put them in my life, yes.
And he was like,
so he's like, okay,
Kim.
Boom.
And same with the other family.
Kim, like all of this happened, and
the other family who left, same thing, where she's like, if I run into them, then that's fine. Like I'm reaching out, and the same thing happened, and like so just it was neat to see because my mom had a little bit of a slow Band-Aid rip off with the whole Gia leaving thing, because at first she didn't she's like, okay, well this is happening,
and
but
like some of her friends were, still going on walks and talking with her. And then it was just like a slow rip of the Band-Aid of
people.
Just like people would just all of a sudden like call or text her and be like, hey, so my husband said I can't talk to you anymore.
Right.
So sorry. And so it's just like, okay, that friend's gone. And then like a couple weeks later, another friend would do that. And then another friend, where it's like Miriam and I was just like, rip. Nobody's
and we
talking
knew
to you
like
anymore.
going into it what was going to happen, which is one of the things that I brought up to Pastor Dave, because I was still, at the time when I was still in, and he had told his wife, like, you gotta, no more. And I had brought that up to him, like, why are people cutting themselves off from my mom? Like, they've had years of relationship with her.
Literally,
like, they
raised kids together.
Like, and my mom isn't choosing this. Like, she's, following her husband because that's, biblical. And like, she's like, okay, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, why is she being punished for that? And there wasn't an answer necessarily.
Yeah.
It was just like, well, she's not doing what we're doing. So,
and
so one of those things where I'm like, there's just not an answer for those questions of like,
I like to call it, they just have like a wiggly kind of squirmy spirit about them now. Like beforehand, it was like, they were like the authority and I was like the, this other person under them. And so they were like giving me this authority. And then like after we had left, like I did have like some direct conversations with people that I felt like I needed to have a direct conversation, and it'd always just get kind of wiggly. I'd be very direct and be like, why are you doing this? Like, this is clearly not right. And they'd be like, oh, well, well, you're doing this and you're not doing this. And then like I'd like leave the conversation, and I'd see like, because we are still in that, this community. It's part of one neighborhood where the church is at the end of the neighborhood, and our family lived in that neighborhood. So at the time, like I was still with my parents and I was still in the neighborhood, and I'd have this direct conversation, and then I'd see that person walking to one of the like 10 men because he just like he had a conversation with me and he needed to tell one of the 10 men about it. Like it's just like
I'm glad you brought that up.
Squirmy little like
for anybody who's like, you guys are supposed to be Bible nerds, look at the Bible. I've got literally one proverb. All right, and maybe we'll close with this.
Sounds good.
There's more to say.
That sounds great.
Proverbs 18 verse 24 says, "A man of too many friends comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother." Why I mention that is because there's another proverb that talks about that. A man who is a secret keeper, somebody who keeps secrets, is a trustworthy friend.
Mm-hmm.
And the word friend in this Hebrew is somebody who keeps secrets. So like we're friends, but I don't like confide things with you guys. Right. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about friends you confide things with. And so you had mentioned earlier, it's like you first needed to breathe and find people and just like learn, and then start like confiding and growing, and then finding trusting.
Right.
Yeah.
Like these are people I can trust.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
These are people following Jesus. And now that's something where you go, well, yeah, you got to go to the 10 or whatever. You got to go to the leaders. You got to go to them. And then that seems to get spread throughout the church, some fashion or another. Oh, this person doing this. Okay. And now everybody knows. Well, I don't think that's a friend in that sense, because they're sharing the secrets.
Yeah.
And so this, I think, is a verse that I just have been thinking of, because it's like, yeah, we should not be confiding our secrets for so many people, specifically for people who we cannot trust to keep those secrets.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big telltale of one of the issues with GO is stuff gets confided with them and then it gets spread. That's not trustworthy.
No,
right.
That's
it's not
a friend.
Yeah.
And so that's really
Right.
tough. But thank you guys so much for sharing.
Oh,
I mean, it's been amazing to like listen and I just didn't know.
I can't even talk. I like normally I talk a lot. Usually I'm facilitating stuff, but man, I was just captured by the whole thing because it's wild what you guys went through. But I am also so encouraged that seeing what God did in your life, like also talking about how it was pretty obvious with you and Joel, like
suck it.
with you and Joe. I mean. I talked with Joe about this kind of stuff. We talked to each other about relationship stuff. He didn't even know that he liked you, and I told Madeline, you guys were sitting next to each other, not even looking necessarily at each other, but it was one look that you gave him, and I don't know why. I told Madeline, I think they're gonna get married. Like I just had that thought because it was just so like. It was the look you gave of like admiration. It's the only thing I can explain. I'm like, that's the look that I give my wife. Right. And so it was like it to some people it may have happened so quick, but I just saw God moving in your lives. You guys went from this like volatile situation, and now you're actually like ingrained with this community that's. I'm so great. Like I've been blessed by my friend group and community. I've grown so much. So it's great to see that with you guys just come into that.
Awesome.
It's like,
it's been crazy too. Cause like you guys have said it before and I definitely felt it like when we first joined the friend group. Yeah. It only took like a few like get-togethers before I just felt like I had known you guys for years.
Right. Yeah. Right.
It was weird. I was like, did I grow up with these people? No, I didn't. But it's just like I felt like I'd known you guys for years already.
And vice versa too. Like it just felt like
that's gotta be said because I know it can be easy with like the GO where it's like, oh well, let's see, they're giving me all this, so I gotta like give back. Right. It's like. No, but you are 100%.
Yeah,
like, you don't have to. It just happens. But you are.
It's the thing. It's the thing that should happen, and I've talked about this before. It's the things that should happen naturally in a friendship or in any kind of relationship, where you have the mutual encouragement and sometimes conviction, you know, truth and love, and building each other up, prayer. Having these conversations, confiding in each other, having that rapport. Those are things that should happen naturally. And it seemed like at GO, this is something that they wanted to cultivate by them for them.
For sure.
Themselves.
Or like if we're going to talk about, you know, the Bible or the scriptures, it's very structural. Or like, okay, now we're talking.
Sitting down and
now everyone has to talk about it. And like, you know, you need to bring versus just a friend group getting together, wanting to know more about the Bible, and like,
just bringing it up casually. Like if we had been like in the middle of a board game, like at my like cousin's house or something, and somebody brought up like the sermon or something they heard, it was like pause the game, like we're talking about the word now. It's like fun's over, but it's like, and that's why it surprised me so much with the friend group how like just natural and like easy flow, like you just. Go into it, come out, and it's like it just happened. Like as we were going, things would pop up, and it just we talk about it or pray about it. It was just crazy.
And like the whole like love amidst Egyptian war.
Exactly.
How's that work? It's a part of our lives. I mean, that's the whole premise for what we're doing here. Yeah. Like when I picked the name is partially because it's like we nerd out, right? We nerd out about the Bible because that's what happens
during work.
But during work, and we had to find an outlet, so it's just like we need to do something with this. Yeah. But that's what we want to cultivate. That's why I started the Bible study. Yeah. Was because of the friend group we have, and just continuing to like create a culture of. This is naturally a part of our lives. We love it. And so an outpouring of that is going to happen. Yeah. And naturally. And because it's not just with a place like GO, it happens in a lot of places where somebody brings up the and I've been in environments where as soon as you talk about something, everybody just kind of gets quiet, and then they just kind of like you're preaching. You're preaching
right,
at them,
and
like
you have to put on a face now. Like, okay, now we're doing this.
Right, this separation. That's not supposed to be.
Well,
there.
It's your life. It's like
just live your life. Yeah,
you're living your life this way, and like where it says iron sharpens iron. Like I see that all the time, and it's great because like you can have these friendly debates about the word. Like we're meant to do that. Like challenge each other and like have these and it's really fun to see, especially like Joel and his friend Andrew, like go at it because, they'll play devil's advocate and be like, okay, well, I'm just going to like throw this at you and like see what you say. Like he completely agrees with the other person, but he's making it seem like he's not. And that sharpens you so much because it makes you go like, why do I believe it?
Joel and I got in so many heated discussions because of that. It was so fun. And then I'm like, wait, you actually agree with me? And I'm like, he's so good at he's so good at steel manning the other argument.
He's very good at that.
It's like his favorite book, Screw Tape Letters. Like Joel loves Screw Tape Letters, and it's kind of like that. Like he likes.
I mean, that book definitely changed his life. He's I mean, he's told me, he's like, once I read that book, I was like, oh, it all makes sense.
That book, guys, read C.S. Lewis Screw Tape Letters. It will change your life.
It's a great book.
But so I want. By the way, this is not even. It's not even close. As far as the time on the episode. Like, this is by far the longest we've ever gone.
I was going to say, I was like, this is probably making
go
on.
It's double than most of our long conversations.
Yeah.
And there's plenty more to talk about.
And there's plenty more.
But,
if we weren't constrained by time, I would want to have you guys on for like 5-6 hours. But
it's a lot. It's a lot to unpack.
If people enjoy the episode, then
yes,
they will.
Let us know if you want more of this.
Part 2.
Part 2.
And we can do that.
And just the encouragement. So like with you guys leaving the faith, and this has been highlighted multiple times with you guys. Not leaving the faith. You left GO. Kind of clarify that. And you didn't leave the faith, and you held fast to it, and you jumped into a Christian community.
Mm-hmm.
You jumped into a new church. That's crucial.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Desi was talking about in the episode we did with him. It's you need to find that, and you guys found that, and I'm so grateful for that, because now what's really cool is you guys you have a great opportunity to get to talk about this and say to other people, you're not alone. And that's kind of what we want to tell you guys watching is like that you're not alone. Like and you're in a isolated, controlling situation. There's a lot of cults out there that are like this. Mm-hmm. You just need to talk with people. Just talk with people.
It's definitely hindsight too. Like you don't realize how much of the situation you're in until you're outside of it and you're with other people where you can look and go like, whoa, okay, that happened. And you talk about it and you just go like, okay, this happened. This is what I believed. And like, you start questioning a lot of things. Like we'll be in Bible study and like a scripture will come up and I'll be like, okay, is that
this is what I
what I'm thinking about it like
my whole life,
and it's great because I'll just mention it and be like, okay, this is what I've been thinking, like what do you guys think? And it's great because the conversation starts and I'm very blessed with those and I'm like, oh yes, cup of fresh air, like, oh so good,
so nice.
But I will definitely say if you are in that situation, like get out and like you talk about it, debrief it, like get around other people for sure. And don't live in it. Don't live in the past. Don't live in like if onlys or what ifs and like because that will consume you. Resentment or like, oh, those people hurt me and like which it'll just eat you up and like it's not worth it. And I definitely look at the people in GL and love them and like I'm looking for opportunities to be like, if I can talk to them, like great. And I'm leaving that to the Lord too.
Totally.
Like,
okay, we went to the performance and it was great and I enjoyed it and
it was an incredible performance.
It was good seeing, people there and even just being like a slight encouragement to them. Like, look, I'm still, a Christian. I'm still in the faith. Like, I'm relying on the Lord, like a lot. And so hopefully we can be an encouragement
Yeah,
to
I was
everybody.
gonna say, like, just anybody in any situation that you are, if it's similar to ours or just even completely different, like the first thing I would say is just pray about it.
Yeah.
Pray about it first, and if there's somebody you trust to talk to about it, good counsel and talk to them about it, and just know that the Lord is going to direct your steps. And if it's something as like kind of dramatic as our story, it's gonna be a hot second, but the Lord is the Lord's gonna take you through it, and He has many, many blessings for you. And if you want to know more, or if you just are in the similar situation and you want to reach out, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. Like, I have Instagram, I have Facebook. Just look up Amanda Lueras. That is Lueras. I know that last name is kind of hard.
There's
Amanda's pretty easy, but then the last one. And just like message me. I am really open to talking to people about this.
That's awesome.
And same with us. We're always encouraging people to reach out to us on Instagram is probably the best way to do that. And we actually, I think we have a Facebook page now. I just finally set one up. It's been a long time.
Fancy.
Reach out and like just because especially if you don't have anybody else, right? If this is an outlet,
don't have anybody else,
and we can be an encouragement and talk. I mean, we're fortunate enough to not have a super large audience,
right?
And so we're pretty easy to reach, and
we'll
we can
respond to comments and stuff.
Send them y'all's way.
Agree, disagree with things. Shoot those comments.
I'm not like I have like maybe 100 followers on Instagram, so like you DM me, it's
gonna pop up.
I'm gonna see it. I don't have like millions of fans. Like
right. Just
asking for my face.
Well,
same.
Yeah, that's
links in.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I said we'll just put those links in.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Okay, yeah, let's pray. Lord, thank you so much for this time we get to spend together, with these gals here, listening to the story and the encouragement. And Lord, I pray for everybody at GO that there would be a turning in mindset, and that they would become less inward and they would start to reach out more and connect more and just grow and see that the world outside, especially in other Christian churches, that they're not alone. They're not the remnant. There are other faithful Christians, and just connect with them and actually seek to do amazing things out in the world, because there's some immensely godly and talented people who are in that church, and I just pray that you would just bring a revival there, a revival in people's hearts. And Lord, thank you so much that Miriam and Amanda are the blessing that they are to the community around them, and thank you that you brought them out and bless them. And Lord, I just pray for anybody else who is in a similar situation, Lord, that you would just put in their heart encouragement and comfort and a steadfastness and a faithfulness, trusting in you, and that they would find other believers to encourage them and build them up like you put other believers in Miriam and Amanda's life. We just pray for that, and we pray for anybody listening who is encouraged by this, that it would be an encouragement. And I just pray that you bless the rest of this evening. Thank you so much. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah.
It's been so much fun. I've totally lost track of time. I don't even know what time it is. I'm just avoiding looking at the clock.
Don't look at the clock.
Don't look at the clock. But if you guys enjoyed this episode, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you know anybody who would find this valuable, if you know somebody in this situation, share it with them.
Share it.
And if you like our stuff, go ahead and subscribe. We produce weekly content, and we got a whole bunch of other episodes. Check out our other episode with Desi. That'll be in the playlist. It'll be in in a specific playlist, its own
If you made it this
category.
far,
So if you made it
subscribe.
this far,
Go,
if
go,
you made
man.
it this far,
What are you
man,
doing?
Seriously.
you're in too deep
Come
now.
on.
You're in too deep.
You know too much
Yeah.
now.
You know
Yeah,
too
yeah,
much.
You know too much. Cool. Well, God bless you guys.
Yes, yes.
We love you, and we just want to, above all, encourage you to stay nerdy, but especially about the Bible. Nice. God bless.